Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day. Do you ever find yourself with the desire to welcome the Crocs into your life?
Yeah, I've got some genuine Realtree Crocs for when I'm out in the stand, you know. So
I know guys who use those as camp shoes. They like to walk around camping them because you're wearing heavy boots in the mountains.
Yeah, they're nice to kind of keep with you as a spare. You know, if you soak your boots or you're just trying to go in and out of the house real quick. Yeah.
Brian Simpson now has Crocs and stage Crocs. So before Brian Simpson goes on stage, he takes off his walk-around Crocs and he puts on his pristine stage Crocs. It's hilarious. It's so fun. He used to do it with sneakers. He used to walk around with Crocs, then he would wear sneakers on stage. And then he went from Crocs to stage Crocs.
Yeah, well, hey, maybe I'll look into that. I need to get some new boots. My boots are like these are the ones I always wear, and we were walking through the airport yesterday, and they're like literally one of the soles is falling off. I'm like, I got to figure out something.
You got to get them resold, man. They're authentic.
Yeah, these are my genuine.
You earned them. You know, people pay for those.
I've thought about it. I was joking with my buddy the other day. I went and changed my oil at his house before we drove to North Carolina, and I left the empty jug or the dirty oil sitting in his garage, and I was like, oh, I'll get it, whatever. He said, no, man. He said, I'm selling that on eBay. That's Oliver Anthony's authentic used motor oil out of his truck.
Probably get $20 for that. Yeah, there's a lot of people that definitely would buy that. But what I mean, people buy used clothes because they want to wear clothes that look like, you know, they have character. You know, It drives me crazy when I see people with pants that just are shredded all over the place, like your knees are exposed.
Yeah, well, see, the pro tip I have for that is just go to Goodwill. You can get real used clothes
for real used clothes. But that's extra like hipster authentic. If you go to a real used clothes store, What do they call those? Vintage.
Like
vintage.
That vintage look. Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you could buy some Holy T-shirt that some dirty hippie wore to a Rolling Stones concert in the 1970s, you can get that now. That's worth a lot of money. You know, if like he died of a heroin overdose and he kept the fucking T-shirt at his mom's house, and she decides to sell it, that's worth a lot of money.
I've tried to hold on to things that I think I could sell down the road. Like I've still got I've got the strings that I recorded Richmond North of Richmond on my guitar. I almost threw them away. I was like, oh, hold on a second.
You could definitely sell
hard
those.
times. I may have
definitely sell those. But that would be like an honest sale. People can't say, "Oh, he's a sellout."
yeah. I'm just selling junk I have. I'm considering selling my truck. Just if any, I don't know. I think we talked about this once before, but if somebody, it's worthless to me. It's got 325,000 miles on it in a salvage title, and I still daily drive it. But I thought, man, if I could sell this and somebody pay $50,000 for it or whatever and send it towards a charity, like it'd be pretty slick to do. You know?
It has a salvage title?
It does, yeah.
What happened? Did you buy it when it was already
wrecked? Well, now it's a 2007 Suburban. I paid a couple grand for it years ago, and then just here recently I had to have it towed. It broke down, and the rollback driver, I guess, I don't know if he was under the influence or something or what, but he unhooked all the chains off and then tilted the bed back.
Oh,
so the whole truck rolled right off the back of the rollback.
Oh, no.
And it totaled the truck out. It bent a bunch of stuff under the drive shaft and the front of the frame and all. And, of course, I'm sitting there trying to figure out what to do with my truck, and here comes all the police. And they're like, oh, is that really you? Let's get it. So here I am. I'm on the phone with my insurance company, and then all these guys are coming up trying to take selfies with me and stuff.
That's hilarious.
Like, I guess this is the world I live in now. But
So can the truck be fixed?
It's drivable. Yeah, I'm driving it. It rides kind of like a covered wagon now. So it's at some point I'm going to have to upgrade.
Is the frame bent? Is the suspension bent?
The drive shaft in the back's bent, I think, is what's causing it to shake.
Oh, so you got like a wobble in your drive shaft?
It went straight. Yeah, I mean, it went Dukes of Hazzard style off the back of the truck.
That drive, as an adult, that show drives me nuts. Watching those cars land, like, what are you doing to those cars?
Well, hey, this one can do it. So
yeah, sorta.
Maybe I'll donate it to Whistling Diesel and just let him kill it. I don't know. It'd be pretty slick, but
well, you could do that. Or if someone is listening to this and they want to do something cool and they got the cheddar, buy it from you and then send it to Roadster Shop and have them put like a badass suspension in it and make it a real sleeper. They can do shit like that.
Because
you have to get all that replaced anyway. Why not replace it with like better shit?
It'd be cool for somebody to have it. It would have a cool story behind it, you know.
This company called Roadster Shop, they've been on my podcast before. One of the things they do is they do like a sleeper series. I think they call it the Legend series. I'm actually not sure what they call it. But what they do is they'll take an old car. So the outside looks like shit. The outside is patina and rust and all that stuff. And then they'll just completely redo everything underneath it with like a crazy engine, insane brakes, insane handling and suspension. But it still looks like a 72 GMC pickup truck.
Yeah.
But underneath it, it's just a monster.
It's got all the modern amenities and because new cars are so much more efficient. Like you don't realize when you.
So they do stuff like this.
That's not it.
But they have different kinds of builds. No, so these are all just like the different ones that they did.
Right.
Survivor Series, that's what it is. The Survivor Series. Well, so I think the Survivor Series, that's what it is. Like they leave the outside.
It's interesting to me that older vehicles had so much more character. Like I don't know if it's just that it's
people who are doing drugs, bro. That's what it is. We nailed it with them. We sat down with them and they introduced me to all these people that were the designers back in GM in the day.
Yeah.
This guy was a freak. He was wearing like crazy red suits and this crazy guy was probably definitely on acid. And these are the people that created these insane shapes. And then when the sweeping Psychedelics Drug Act of 1970 came along, they made everything a Schedule I drug.
Yeah, and that is when cars went downhill.
It
really,
is when cars went downhill.
Was early 70s. Yeah.
Yes. You can get a 71 Barracuda and it's still sick. But you get into like 72, 73, ugh.
Yeah.
Those cars look like shit. 75, they're garbage. 79, they're done. Everyone's on coke. Everyone thinks everything they do is amazing. It's just, you get the movie Showgirls.
Everything lost its art, and it became focused more on algorithms of what's going to sell and what's more efficient and what's better to produce. And it's
sort of, but back then I don't even think they had data they were going on. They were going on past success. So if you go to like the 1980s, some of the worst movies that were ever made, like the cocaine years, those I really strongly feel like those people were going on reputations of sales, and the studio would put a lot of money behind someone who had a great reputation, and this guy's fucking partying and doing lines and writing crazy shit in these scripts, and some of them are good and some of them aren't so good, but they're all kind of clunky.
Yeah.
They're all kind of disconnected. That like a true masterpiece of a movie isn't, like Taxi Driver. Like you go back and watch Taxi Driver, that's a masterpiece of a movie. It's so connected. You're connected to all the action. It's like you're on the edge of your seat. It's wild. The acting's insane. Even Jodie Foster as a kid is insane in it. It's so good. But cocaine movies in the 80s, like they were nuts, man. They didn't go on algorithms. I think they just went on what they thought people wanted. They probably took polls, but who the fuck's answering polls? Polls are the worst way to get information because you're only getting information from people dumb enough to answer polls. Like that's such a small group of people. How many people answer polls when they call you up? How many fucking people with a life have time for a poll? Do you think Jordan Peterson has ever answered a poll?
Yeah, like I always get those calls and immediately hang up.
Yeah, you just shut the fuck up. I'm sorry I have to do this to you, but bye. No, don't hang up. Some of them will beg. Please.
Yeah,
they can't get anybody to do it.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see throughout history times when people were able to really connect with other humans, like on that, like whether it's through movie or film or cars or whatever. It's like maybe it was the psychedelics or whatever, I don't know, but there was a huge disconnect. It seemed like after the 70s with all that, things kind of went off. And it's interesting even now. Like I see a lot of the new movies coming out. They're all just sort of remakes of. They're like a reconceptualization of something that's happened 15 years ago. There's not a lot of like new stuff out there for people to connect with.
Yeah, Matt Damon did this conversation about why it's so much more difficult to make movies now. There's no DVD sales anymore, and it was very interesting, and it kind of makes sense. I think it's really hard to finance those fucking things, and you want a guaranteed success. What's a guaranteed success? You need a superhero. People like superheroes, and if your superhero is trans, even better. If you could figure out a way to make it every ethnicity inside the group of superheroes that are there, perfect. Now we're good.
Yeah.
Now we need CGI, we need aliens, explosions.
Yeah, I think CGI is a blessing and a curse because, like, I don't know, some of the best film, it doesn't necessarily have the best stunts or
Right.
you can tell where some of it's fabricated, but that's okay because the whole the whole thing's a fabrication going into it. It's just about like being able to believe the story within it. That's what's important, Even I'm not a huge movie guy, and I guess it's difficult for me to sit 3 hours and watch something straight. My mind's already long gone within the first 30 minutes doing something else. But Star Wars was really partial to me growing up. And I don't think they'll ever touch the original series, even though, you can tell some of it, even with some of the renovations they've done on the newer versions of it, to adding CGI into the old films. It's like just the story of the originals to me meant a lot more than the newer stuff, just because of you don't believe it looking at it with your eyes as much, but you believe it more with your mind, like listening to what it has to tell you.
I think that Star Wars is like generational wealth. Like the original guy who started the company was a bad motherfucker. That guy was out there grinding. He was selling soap out of the back of a wagon in 1890. But the folks who inherited the company 3, 4, and 5 generations in, they're kind of flat. It's different. When I watch Star Wars now, it's like a bunch of stuff happening. It's still fun. They're still good. I enjoy them.
Yeah.
But Star Wars won in the context of whatever year it was. What was it, 77 or something like that?
Hey, there you go.
Let's take a pop. What do you think it is? What was first Star Wars, if you had to guess?
Yeah, probably late 70s, I'd say.
Yeah, I want to say like 77.
In my unprofessional opinion.
Am I right? 77? Yay!
Look at that.
That movie at that time was fucking groundbreaking. It was amazing. Rick Baker did the special effects. And that was when I was a serious special effects nerd. Like I wanted to do, when I was a little kid, I wanted to do special effects for the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how I became a giant fan of Rick Baker. That's why we have that American Werewolf in London in the lobby.
Oh, okay.
That's what that's
gotcha.
from.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like this guy named Pat McGee. It's funny because that's our second one. We have another one that's in the pool hall. And the reason why is that Pat McGee, who is this amazing special effects guy, he was also on the podcast back in the day. He made an American Werewolf in London that you could buy online. And I'm like, that would be the sickest thing for the studio ever. And then Rick Baker came and was a guest, and Rick Baker said, the proportions are off. Like the wolf, the arms weren't as long. It was like shorter. It was like this and that. So Pat McGee listened, and he was like, shit, I got to make a better one. And so he made an even better one. And the new one is all hair. There's no synthetic hair. So it's all like, I think it's yak hair that they use. So it's like individual hairs are put in all over this wolf, and it looks fucking amazing.
It does look, that's the first thing that catches your eye walking in here, I'd say, out of everything.
It's
like, whoa.
That thing's sick.
You're not going to find one of those many other places.
That was my 100% my favorite horror movie. I love that movie because it's funny, it's terrifying. It has to do with the werewolf theme. To me is so amazing that you take some person who's like a good person. They're a friendly, nice guy. And you're like, hey, man, you have to lock yourself in a cage. You're going to become a monster. And it's like, what the fuck are you saying? That doesn't make any sense. And they never want to believe, and you know it's going to happen. And in that one, that was the first time in one of those movies where you got to see like the advancements of special effects. Like, what year was American Werewolf in London? Let's guess that. I want to say 82. I'm going to say 82, 84. 81.
81.
I should have stuck with 82. Back then, when you had special effects, it was like kind of like they didn't move that good. Like they couldn't get their faces to move that good. But he had figured out a way to get your hands to grow, like, and he had to figure out a way to get things in his cheeks where his cheeks were bubbling.
Yeah,
and it's
awesome.
All real. None of it is CGI. And there's something about that uncanny valley. When you're watching a CGI transformation, your brain knows it's bullshit. For whatever reason, you're better off having it look fake but be a real thing, like John Carpenter's The Thing. You're better off with that than you are with CGI. For whatever reason. CGI just...
I mean, I think we just have
there
seen...
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, this is behind-the-scenes footage I was going to show you.
Oh, wow.
That was pretty cool
That's
because
cool.
it still moves in a really interesting way.
Yeah, but that's a physical thing moving. It's not a CGI. That does look exactly like the wolf in the lobby, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So, but back then they couldn't even get the thing to close its mouth. Look how sick that is.
That's awesome.
Imagine
That
if
is
you're
so
in a
cool.
subway and you see that fucking thing turning a corner. Oh my God, that scene was amazing. Where the poor guy was stuck in the subway and he was running from it, and then you see it at the bottom of the escalator stairs. That's like just those quick glimpses of a thing like that is so much more terrifying than some long CGI'd up monster killing someone scene. Like the American Werewolf in London was just a masterpiece. Landis just nailed it. It was the perfect horror movie, and it was funny. It's like there's funny moments in it.
Yeah, that's cool when you can add you can get humor in there too. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of my dog when I don't give him table scraps. You know, he's got that terrible face like that.
That thing was amazing. Yeah, but it's just the difference between digital and real, and you're gonna have to deal with that soon. Because I guarantee you, there's going to be some people that are making some CGI.
Oh, there are.
AI.
There already
are. Out there?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
What is that? I'm sure there are.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with a lot just because, you know, I'm doing anything social media related right now, or any internet presence I have right now is coming from me off the phone, just like before everything blew up. So I haven't invested the time to like look at everything circulating, but people like friends and family have sent me stuff, and some of it's pretty funny, but. You know, they've got all these different AI remixes of the song with different voices and overlaid different faces and all, and it's funny to see where it's going to go, you know.
That is funny. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with that. My daughter sent me some advertisement. She goes, "Did you do this advertisement?" I'm like, "Nope.
Yeah.
Nope, that's not really my voice."
Yeah,
I mean,
like
it is my
the
voice.
day after the day after things blew up, one of the towing companies had an ad on Facebook that had it wasn't really me, but it was a red beard and like the side profile of sunglasses looking out the window. I'm like, okay,
how dare you?
I guess I've made it anyway. That's when I realized like people are already ripping things off. And what's crazy is like every shirt that I've worn anywhere in public, there's a organization that I'm not like officially related to or in any way have done anything with, but it's a friend of a friend in the neighborhood. It's called Nets with Vets, and they take out veterans with PTSD and let them go deep sea fishing. And so he asked me last minute just to wear his shirt at one of the concerts. And do you know now there's like 1,500 listings online for counterfeit Nets with Vets shirts? And so the organization reached out like, "Hey, are you like making shirts ripping us off?" And it's like, it's not me. So it's like, it's a weird thing. But yeah, I've already experienced a lot of that stuff. Not so much on the AI side, but just, I don't know, the internet's just such a rowdy place, you know?
Oh, it's so rowdy. The world's a rowdy place.
It is, and maybe people bring their best and their worst on the internet. Like I've always tried to stay off social media as much as possible, but I've learned very quickly that like Twitter and Facebook and stuff like you see comments and feedback from people, both overwhelmingly positive that maybe you wouldn't get in a personal conversation, but also like overwhelmingly negative too, you know?
Yeah.
People just use that as a vent that they just take whatever seething hatred they have inside of them. They're like, "Oh, I'm getting that guy with it," you know?
If you had a song just about love that resonated like that, it would be almost impossible to hate you. But you have a song where you're talking about how people are fed up with shit, and it obviously resonated. I mean, I've seen songs go viral, but that's pretty bananas, son. your shit went to the moon right away. And God, I'm not sure who sent it to me. I'll have to find out who sent it to me, because it's one of those things where like once one person sent it to me, then it was like dozens of people were sending it to me.
It's funny because originally that song wasn't really even in my top 5. Like, it's not normally the type of song. I've written songs with similar messages, but as far as that sort of like, I guess, anthem format is what people are calling it. It's like an anthem. Like, that's not something I would normally write, but
it's an unlikely anthem.
Yeah.
You know, insane times. It would be an unlikely anthem.
Yeah, I had no idea that song would react the way it did.
Well, you're a smart guy, and it's representative of how a lot of people feel. And it's also, there's something about the way certain people sing. And I don't know what it is because I can't sing. But there's a tone, there's an authentic sound. And I know when they're faking it. And it's not that they're not faking it in a beautiful way. Like, there's a lot of people, the faking it's probably a bad term. But they're sounding perfect and they're singing a song. There's something missing. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But some people, like Janis Joplin's like one of my greatest examples. There's take a little piece of my heart. There's a authenticity in that voice that, God damn, man, if that doesn't bring you to your knees, like, play that. Play that. We need to hear that. We got time. This fucking song.
Every
time. This is one of those songs that every time I hear it, it just takes me in my mind to what it must have been like to be alive in 1968 or whenever it was that this came out. And this hippie chick who's 27 years old has a voice from the heaven. God damn, son. Listen to that. Oof. Give me some volume.
Yeah, it's timeless too. Like,
She was a magical person.
Yeah,
magical person. It's a magical person.
Yeah, but she's really singing with everything in her. Like
everything.
I think, at least in my case, I think the one thing that's helped me too is that. So my singing isn't the best, but I've never had any like vocal lessons or anything. So the way I sing is just the way I sing. And so like I think even the same way with her and other people, it's like it's maybe rough around the edges. It could be a little pitchy, or it's you're not using the right part of your face when you project and whatever. And so like on paper things aren't quite right, but I guess to another human, it's like it sounds right because it is what it is.
It's authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any right way to do anything. I mean, it's like you see it in everything. There's a person who violates the rules, and they're the best at it.
and then the rules almost morph into whatever that is. Like, it's funny, like with music. Yeah, music has, country in particular, but music in general has gotten way too wrapped up in like this algorithm of how many beats per minute it needs to have, and how many verses, and how they need to be layered. And it's like they've almost created this sort of like industry standard like OSHA rule book of how music needs to be performed, and so like you can only do that so many thousands of times before people are like, okay, what else is there?
Well, people like that too. That's the thing. There's a lot of damn people. There's a lot of people. The problem I think with a lot of people is they want you to like what they like, and if you don't like what they like, what you like sucks. It's funny like that, man. We're so tribal. We are tribal with our cell phones. We're an Android or PC. Android people
brands,
have to stick together. It's like we're so weird. Mm-hmm. We're so weird, but we're like that with our musical taste. We're like that with our cultural sensitivities or our cultural sensibilities, rather. Like the way we feel about life and how life should be. We want everybody to kind of think along the ways that we think. Mm-hmm. It's very strange. And when a person like yourself gets labeled a right-wing, left-wing fanatic, like right out of the gate.
both in like a week and a half, then yeah, at least I know I'm doing something right. Like to me...
Yeah, they're looking for your Biden campaign contributions now. They're going through your fucking taxes. The whole thing is so bonkers, man. Like, can't they just accept that you made a great song and people enjoy it?
Yeah.
Why does it why do people have to attack
Well,
it?
I think it's just for whatever reason I'm the subject matter the last couple weeks, and in everyone's defense, I probably haven't. I've waited for this opportunity, I guess, to really have a real conversation with somebody about whatever it is I am. So people are just trying to find who's this Oliver Anthony guy, and what is he, and where does he work, and who did he vote for, and what's his family like, and yada, because they want to sort of build this image of whatever it is that the person behind the song represents, for better or for worse.
Right.
The people who agree with it want to. I don't know. It's really funny to watch on my end, because obviously I know what's true and what's not, and so like just even what I've skimmed through of people sending me like singing at the Super Bowl, like how many people have formed an opinion about whether or not I should be paid to sing at the Super Bowl. Like, I'm not singing at the Super Bowl. That's just somebody made up. But there's been hundreds of hours of people's time wasted probably talking about all these little like things that don't even exist. It's just somebody made them up and put them on the internet, and so I'm just letting them ride. I think it's great.
It's wild.
I just think it's great, like that. at least the last couple of weeks I've been able to entertain everyone and get everyone's mind off like all the other horrible stuff that's going on in the world right now. Like at least everybody can have a good laugh, you know. So
well, I mean, it's a subject of discussion. So like everybody is getting involved, and then somehow or another it became cultural. And then there was Dwight from The Office.
Oh yeah,
he chimed in that if he was going to write a cultural anthem, what did he say? Something like he wouldn't write about overweight people on welfare. He would write about billionaires and their taxes.
Yeah,
there is nothing funnier than millionaires talking shit about billionaires. There is nothing funnier about millionaires pretending these billionaires are out of touch.
Oh yeah.
And then, you know, take Dwight from The Office down to West Virginia. You know, take him through those coal mining countries. Take him through those places in Appalachia where people have extreme poverty and pills have ravished those areas. Take him through there.
And it's everywhere. Yeah, the sad thing is it's everywhere now. It's not.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. People right off the get-go, I guess because it was Radio WV that posted the original video, but like I've never once advertised myself as being necessarily from the mountains. My grandfather grew up in western part of Virginia in the mountains, but I'm from Farmville, which is technically Piedmont. But even throughout rural Virginia, that poverty is a big issue and drugs are a big issue. And I mean, it's not just even in the rural areas. You go into downtown Richmond or any downtown anywhere for that matter. It's almost like these problems exist everywhere now and I think, I mean, obviously they are because that's why the song resonated the way it did. You know, even in other countries. In other countries, yeah.
Well, people are tired of being fucked with. And it seems like people in power are always fucking with people. And I think it's a natural inclination that human beings have. And I think the founding fathers of this country recognized that when they set up our government. They set up our government to protect it against tyranny. And they did it by having all these different branches of government, and they're all coordinated, and there's a lot of stuff that keeps people from just running it the way they want to run it like a king.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm certainly I'm no professional historian, but my understanding is that the federal government was never intended to be the size that it is today. Like it's just we're very top heavy in the way we're structured. You know, our federal government is enormous and out of control and almost impossible to manage. But then, like on our community level and in our state government, things are, especially local government, things are just very neglected and weak and disconnected. And so like that's why you see a lot of the problems. Like we shouldn't have to rely on the federal government to fix things out in the street in small town America. Like the communities and the local government should be the ones fixing that. And that's the way I see things. Like even before our current form of government, I remember reading about like Articles of Confederation, and that was just an even smaller version of federal government, but it needed to have a little more structure than that. But even from day one, it seems like the federal government's never supposed to be the size that it's gotten to. Like that's
a good argument if the country didn't get to the size that it got. The problem is you can't have like 30 people running 300 billion people.
But I think you could have more issues. So like I think it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible for states to be able to have the control to make the right decisions for the people in their areas when the federal government limits them in so many different ways.
I don't know anything about this, so I'm going to be talking out of my ass. But I would imagine
they're
probably low on funding, too. There's probably a lot of issues, especially in places that are poor, because they rely on taxes from those people. Yeah. It's all very complicated, but the idea of taxing the rich being the way to fix all this, no, you're just going to give more money to the government, and they're not really good at doing stuff. You know, I mean, would it be nice if rich people donated to fixing streets and schools and stuff like that? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it would be. Good call. Also, fat people shouldn't be buying fucking fudge rounds with food stamps. Yeah. Also, that's not good.
Yeah, and that's a funny.
But also,
that's a conversation that sort of got blown multiple ways. And really, I like to let a song be left up to the interpretation of the listener. But even with that, it's like, yeah, I would love to write a song about. Like I always thought it was funny to like when GM got bailed out of the recession after they made all these terrible decisions. Like I never understood why I've never understood corporate welfare either to much of an extent. So I do understand the people making that argument.
Well, the corporate welfare argument is you're going to lose a shitload of jobs. You can preserve those jobs, give those people a loan, they build back up, then they repay the loan. That's what they did, though.
Yeah.
So there's actually some benefit to that. So it keeps American jobs, and it also keeps one of the most iconic American car manufacturers in business. It's good for everybody.
Yeah.
I think
it's a good conversation to have. Like
it is. Like what gets bailed out and what doesn't, and
Yeah.
why. Yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately, yeah, I do see a lot of people that aren't taken care of.
Yeah.
And so
you know the most used business that didn't get taken care of during the crash? The
Who?
porn business. The porn business got wrecked. They got wrecked because they used to rely on DVD sales. And then internet pirating came along and they lost everything. And meanwhile, these politicians are probably whacking off every day to them.
That's a big industry even today. Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, hey, for whatever they lost during the recession, they made it back during COVID because that's my understanding. Everyone was doing that then. So
I don't know how that works, like who's getting paid. I don't know how that works. I'm sure there's a lot of money in that business. There's obviously a lot of eyeballs in that business. I believe it's 1/3 of internet traffic worldwide or something bonkers like that.
yeah.
Isn't it something like that?
It should be more. I don't.
Let's find out what it is. What's the percentage of... And everybody's like, I don't know where it's coming from. I mean,
It's not me.
I've never even seen one of these films.
That stuff's terrible for people.
It's terrible for some people.
I gave that up.
I think it's like Adderall.
Yeah.
Some people can handle it.
That's one thing. That is one thing I had to give up. Yeah, because it's, I don't know. It does disconnect you from reality in many ways. Like, and I think a lot of the weird perversion we see, like coming out, sort of like now at this point, you read about. I mean, I even reference some of it in the song, of course, but you read about like a lot of the weird things that people are doing that maybe wouldn't have been accepted 100 years ago. I think people go down these rabbit holes with porn and they start off with the video with the milkman, and by the end of it it's like, where did I end? I don't know. People have to keep, it's almost like a drug. People have to keep chasing that thrill, and it takes them down very destructive rabbit holes, if you will. So
It definitely can for some people.
I have no issue with anybody watching it, but I do hate to read about some of the things that it does to people. It ruins marriages and that kind of thing. It's like, I don't know, but
I think a lot of things ruin people. I think they also should be legal. Like,
sure, yeah.
Alcohol ruins people. I like the fact that bars are legal. Shit, I own a bar. Alcohol is legal. I like it. It's good. It's not good for everybody, though. Some people drink alcohol and they lose their fucking mind, and it's not good for them, whether it's genetically or whatever it is. They can't have a drink. I like a drink.
Yeah.
And I support your right to do whatever you want. Like, I think if cocaine was legal, the same amount of people would probably do it, and it would be real. You'd get pure cocaine. It'd probably be better. We'd probably have better music. If you're getting this fentanyl mixed shit and you're out of your fucking head,
yeah,
you're
well,
dying
that's
of
the problem.
overdoses.
Like, yeah, I mean, gosh, yeah. Look at when the government bans something; it only makes it worse. So that's certainly not the answer.
I'm not interested in Adderall. I'm interested in trying it once, but I'm not interested in like doing Adderall. I am interested. I'm lying. I'm interested because everybody loves it, but I'm scared of it.
The porn stats, you're right about 30%, but this is the only one I find to be odd.
In 2020, 16.5 years was the average age of first exposure to porn in the United States.
16 and a half, that's like you're a
That's
sophomore,
because
junior in high school.
90-year-old people are still alive, and they do it based on them. I first saw my girly movie when I was 20. Frank had a reel-to-reel camera in the basement. We all got there. And we had raincoats on, and that's what it is. It's like when you factor in infant mortality to the average age that people died during the Roman era. That's what it is.
So
The
you
reason why
expect it to be lower than 16 and a half?
I mean,
Yeah, it should
teenagers.
be. Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
You give a kid a phone,
Now,
instantly they
I know that was one thing that was interesting to me in Virginia. They just recently changed the law where I think you have to enter your driver's license to watch porn now.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Now they know exactly who's watching porn.
They wanna-
Well, that's good if you're watching some freak shit. If you're into, it's like, I don't know. You don't want to give the government the ability to spy on you.
Yeah.
You just don't. And you don't want to give, because the government is just humans. We like to think of the government as being some all-powerful, all-moral, all-ethical entity that controls us in a perfect and very robust and well-considered way. But that's not real.
Yeah.
The reality is it's human beings like you and like me and like Jamie. People that get to dictate what other people can and can't do.
Yeah.
And that's where shit gets weird.
Yeah, and a lot of people I think go into government with good intentions, but it's like anything else. Once you get in the mix, it's like things change, and you have to go with the flow and sort of agree to agree on things that maybe your heart doesn't necessarily agree with. And so that's why you see politicians constantly changing narratives depending on like the political climate. And so, yeah, it's kind of created this big disconnect between people like you and I and people like you and I that are in government, because they're not necessarily saying what they feel or what they think. They're like, let me keep my stripes just like everybody else's so I don't stand out, like
yes, there's a lot of that.
There's too much money tied up in politics, too much bribe and extortion and slap on the back deals and stuff that should never be allowed to happen. Like, that's what's really created a lot of the dishonesty within it.
There's a bunch of decisions that got made a long time ago that really fucked us. And one of them was when they let drug companies advertise on television. That's just like there's only 2 countries in the world that allow that.
Really?
The United States and New Zealand. Yeah, and I think it was 97. Was it 97 when they allowed that?
Yeah, well, it's funny because, you watch the commercial, and then at the end, it's like,
side effects,
it's the best thing in the world. You get to that last 20 seconds, you're like, oh, I don't know about that.
I know, you're at a cookout, everything looks great. Next thing you know, your asshole is fucking spraying blood, and you're suicidal. Yeah, like, what?
Yeah, like, I mean.
And they say it all so fast. This is how, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah, big
suicidal
pharma,
thoughts,
I guess, right?
Suicidal ideation. Rectal bleeding.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's like, fortunately at this point in my life, I haven't been on many medications, but I went on a run with SSRIs, and I can tell you for me, it's like the last 20 seconds applied more than the first 2 minutes of the commercial. Like, I didn't find any benefit in that. I don't know. I think there's alternatives to pharmacy medicine in a lot of cases, like, maybe even if it's just habits, like it's okay to prescribe a medication to keep somebody on course. Or like, for example, like I've got a relative of mine, I won't call him out, but he won't change the way he eats at all, but he'll take whatever medications every day to keep his keep the diabetes away and keep his blood pressure low and all that. But it's like, there should be more integration of like, hey, maybe this is like a plan of what you should do to go along with this medicine. Ideally, eventually it's like they don't want you to really get off the medicine, though. If anything, they want you to keep taking it, right? So like, yeah, it's weird. It is weird that it's almost advertised like it's a soda or a car or something,
Well, it's weird that, people we're so kind of like dependent on other people to take care of us that we would rather go somewhere and get some medication than fix our life, than fix your lifestyle choices. And we've been programmed to sort of think that there's solutions for you out there. Go get those solutions. That's not a solution. Like, internally, you need to reconsider like what you're doing to your actual physical body. Like, what are you doing to your physical body?
Yeah.
Like, are you giving your physical body the exercise that it deserves to be robust and healthy? If you're not, you should. Are you eating food that's nutritious? If you're not, you should. You know.
Well, and how do you do? I mean, how do you do that in today's time anyway? If you don't have a lot of money, like,
well, you can exercise.
Nutritious
for sure.
food. Oh, exercise certainly, yeah. But
there's a way to eat nutritious food on a budget, but you have to be diligent. And the problem is fast food. And food deserts, but if you have a supermarket, if there's a supermarket where you live, then you can get food. And if the supermarket has food, you can get healthy food. And it's not that much more expensive. Even people that go on a carnivore diet. I know people that go on a carnivore diet on a budget, and they go to Costco and get a big tube of ground beef, and they freeze a lot of it, and they cook a bunch of it like in portions.
Yeah.
Eggs,
I know, yeah,
and
that's a lot better than the crap from the store, but even it's not, like, I mean, you read about, just in the part of the country I'm at, we've got really close family of ours that farms. The father and the son have both died from cancer from what they've been, from the commercial agriculture they've been in spraying and all, like, and all that stuff ends up in the food. And I've read about microplastics in the food. Like, you go and buy a tub of ground beef. Like, how much plastic was in the food of all the bags of crap that they threw in there to feed the animals. But it is really, I think, the only way to, in this time, in the area we're in, unless you're going to go buy really expensive food out of like some fancy smancy grocery store that I can't spell the name of, it's like you're really better off going to somebody local and buying it direct, like buying it almost straight from the farmer.
Well, certainly if you have an organic farm near you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, pesticides and herbicides are a real deal. Atrazine, Alex Jones famously said they're turning the frogs gay. But they are. They're making them hermaphrodites. They're making them switch sexes. I mean, atrazine is a very potent endocrine disruptor, and it's a fertilizer. Or is it a pesticide? Pesticide. One of those. I think it's a pesticide.
Something needs to be done about it.
But there's, there's a lot of that shit that they spray on food. Something like 90+% of people tested have glyphosate in their blood.
Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, that is an herbicide that they spray on stuff to
yeah,
keep
so
weeds
to
from
me,
growing
it's like
on it.
you can definitely eat healthy, but even then, like a lot of the food today isn't very healthy, just because of the way it's grown.
Well, there's
like-
a lot that is. There's still a lot that is. You can certainly eat healthy.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but neither is being sick. Being sick's not easy either, man. Just the amount of money you're going to lose by having a body that's defeating you every turn.
Mm-hmm.
You're always tired. You have no inspiration. You have no motivation. You can't get shit done. It's one of the reasons why I can get a lot of shit done. Being healthy makes a giant difference. You have so much more energy than regular people who are just like sitting around all day because you don't demand anything of your body. If you don't demand anything of your body, it's like, good, we'll just fucking atrophy into a sack of bones and meat.
Yeah,
and then
being
your back's
complacent
gonna
is
hurt.
is like the worst thing for you. Physically testing yourself is good, and then mentally testing yourself and spending your time working towards some sort of purpose. Like I think that's really what was killing me the last few years was just, and I see this in friends and family and people I know, but even just from a mental standpoint, not spending your day working towards whatever purpose it is that you feel like you really need to accomplish deep down inside. I think that will really kill you over a period of time. Like, you go work your 9 to 5 or whatever, you come home and then you just start swiping, start wasting your rest of your evening. Like that's your time to be productive, working towards whatever passion project or hobby or
Sure, as long as you don't enjoy your 9 to 5. Some people actually enjoy their 9 to 5 and they want to go play video games. I'm not trying to shame them folks. Maybe you should talk to your wife every now and again, but if you want to play Diablo 4 till 3 o'clock in the morning, I support your right to do it.
If that's what you're and I don't even mean so much video games, but just like that mindless scrolling I've found myself being into too.
Bro, I've seen more people get hit by cars over the last 5 months on Instagram. More people get shot. More people get mauled by animals. Instagram's wild. It is wild, the shit they're allowed to show you.
Yeah.
And one of them was like, it's okay, he's fine. That was in the, there was a big letter, a big print over the video of this guy getting hit by a truck. That guy is not fine. There's not I'm not a medical expert, but when you get hit by a truck and launched into the windshield of an oncoming car, I guarantee you're not fine.
No, I get it. Look, I've been that guy I've wasted at least an hour sometimes in a row watching Russian dash cam videos of these logging trucks flying off the road and stuff. I don't know. There's something that it just gets your brain excited, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not good
It's very
for you.
addictive.
It's not good for you to see that many people die and that many people get bit by crocodiles. I've seen more people get bit by crocodiles. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with my algorithm, but I've seen more people get bit by crocodiles over the last 6 months than I have in a long-ass time. But yeah, it's mostly a waste of time. But it's also fun. There's a lot of funny videos on there. It's just a matter of being disciplined. You just got to know when you're scrolling too much. And the way I avoid that is by doing stuff. So there's a lot of stuff I do, whether it's archery or playing pool. There's a lot of stuff that I do where there's no time. You're not spending any time on that. And so there's a complete different focus. Like when I'm shooting a bow, when I'm shooting at a target and I'm just practicing, my mind is empty. All I'm thinking about is the shot process. All I'm thinking about is whether or not the arrow broke clean. Did I move my shoulder a little? Why did that one go 3 inches left? What happened there? Was it that my elbow up high? How was my follow through? Okay, let's think about it and let's do it again. So that's a mind cleansing thing. Yoga classes like that. If you can find a good hot yoga class, man, when you're fucking standing there holding on to 1 foot and 1 foot is extended and you're hobbling around on one leg, bitch, you ain't thinking about jack shit but what you're doing.
Well, that does a good job of connecting you to your body too, which is something maybe we're not very good at either.
It's very good for people. Yoga is one of if I had one thing to recommend someone who's never done any exercise before, please try yoga. Don't hurt yourself. Go slow, because a lot of people do hurt themselves.
Oh, yeah,
yoga,
I can't imagine me trying to do that.
One of my friends who's a doctor said that yoga is one of the main people that it's yoga and jiu-jitsu, he said. People that come in to see him for treatment. But jiu-jitsu makes sense. It's literally a sport of trying to break bodies.
Yoga, you would think it'd be the opposite, if anything.
Yeah, I've pulled muscles in yoga. yeah, you're doing hard stuff. But hot yoga, I think, is a little better for that because it really does warm your body up like almost instantly. And then, like if you do the Bikram series, I know that guy was a creep, but if you do the series, it's not even. I don't believe he even invented that series of poses. I think he just popularized it. And they're all like standard yoga poses, but that series is designed very well to get you really warmed up. So by the time you get into more complicated and challenging movements, your body's pretty warmed up. Mm-hmm. It's a good system. It's fucking hard, man. A 90-minute hot yoga class at 105 degrees is a motherfucker.
That sounds great sounds like a great walk away from that, the feeling you get.
Oh, you feel so relaxed.
That is one thing I'm looking forward to now is like, continuing to focus on mental health in that area, but also like I'm excited to get into better shape physically. And the only thing I've done in the last 6 months at all is running. We were planning on trying to schedule a run in September that I think was like 10 miles or something. So it's a friend of mine that I've been running with, 2 or 3 days a week. And even that, just whatever's on your mind when you start, it's gone by the time you leave. It's just, it's something good about like getting everything connected again. Yeah. But music is big for me on that too. That's just getting your playing an instrument and singing like you're just everything's all one again. It's very easy, especially, and maybe because of social media and because of the way technology, I don't know what it is I'm certainly no Dr. Phil, but it's like the world we live in today, your mind is very easily disconnected from like your body physically. Like you can get lost just worrying and thinking and doing, and it's good to have something like that. I guess just have grounding's the word or whatever, I don't know, but it's good to have something like that to like get you back into reality again.
Yeah, my belief is that all human beings need something creative. Whether that's something creative as a game that you play, that you get to like invent moves or think about things and strategies, or whether that or whether that creativity expresses itself in music or in illustrate, drawing, painting, something. I think people really get a great satisfaction out of making things and of creating things.
Well, sure, and everyone's good at something. That's what's crazy. I'd say almost everyone's good at something.
I know some people.
Well, maybe they haven't figured out what it is, but like you'd be. That's one thing I've enjoyed over the years with like what I've done in the past is meeting all these different people. Even if it's like, you'd be surprised at how unique people are and what they're able to do and what like. I don't know. Everyone seems like they have that one thing. Maybe even if it's something that they had as a kid that they lost along the way. But like people are really good at shit. And sometimes you underestimate people, and people don't spend the time they need to develop the craft it is they have. But
it's also sometimes people don't find a thing early on in their life where they get into it. So if they don't have a thing ever, it's very difficult for them to gravitate towards a something. But that's why that's like martial arts classes are great for that, because all of a sudden you're learning this new thing and it's exciting. Like, oh my God, it's Monday night. We're going to go to jiu-jitsu class. And you got your little white belt on, you're tying it, and you're like, you're freaking out.
Yeah.
But afterwards you feel like, wow, I really did something. I really challenged my fears. I really took like a class, and I'm learning some stuff, and I'm doing it with other people that are learning, and I'm making new friends. Like there's something really cool about that. And that's also a thing that people need that they don't have, is like a real community. Like feeling of community. Like one of the nice things about comedians is that we all work together. So there's like this feeling, this is a real feeling of community. We go on the road together. We travel to different countries together. Like all the guys that I go on the road with, we're friends. Like we hang, we laugh. We're having drinks and having dinners places, and just everywhere you go, you're with family. It's beautiful. It's beautiful in that way. And if you don't have that, man, if you don't have a thing that you really like, where you're really like connected to like-minded people, it sucks. It's not fun. Mm-hmm. If like maybe the friends that you have are all fucked up and they're going in the wrong direction, try to pull you with them.
Right.
Maybe your job
that
sucks.
happens. Like you have to be careful who you keep in your social circle, because you'll end up just like them.
Well, you have to be careful of energy vampires. There's people that are energy vampires. They'll steal from you. They really will. They'll steal from you. They don't want to do the work, but they want you to do the work for them. Like they want you to be involved in everything that they're doing, even though they're not making any changes. And they want to drag you in, and they want it to be the focus of all the attention. And you really find out after a while that if you're around positive people, then all of a sudden you're uplifted and you have all this energy.
Yeah, and it's funny how that works. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. All that stuff kind of goes on behind the scenes, and you don't really think about it. Yeah, one thing that really benefited me, like even in my early 20s on, a lot of my friends seem to be older. One of my best friends, he's probably I'm 31. He's probably in his mid 40s, and then everyone above them's like my best drinking buddy for years. He's like 65, 66. I love hanging out with older people though, because they're a lot wiser, and they
Some of them.
well you have to care.
There's
I
some
mean, you
old
have
dummies.
to choose. Yeah.
There's some old dummy.
Well,
Bro,
I'm a dummy too, so it's okay if I'm hanging out with dummies. But yeah, I like hanging out with older people. Like they just, and it reconnects you back to like, I don't know, they've just experienced so much more than you ever could in that extra 20 years or whatever, 10 years. It's like those are the kind of people you want to surround yourself with, or people that are more experienced than you, more wise, people that you can aim toward being.
Yeah.
Certainly not people that are immature or on a bad streak, or even like now, like I'm cutting out the drinking. And like I said, I haven't gotten high and almost 2 months now, a month and a half or 2 months.
that was your problem, huh? Was the weed?
Yeah, well, the problem for me was, I knew that I needed to do this. Like I knew I needed to. I procrastinated with music a long time. I mean, I'm 31. I've been playing guitar and singing on and off since I was a kid. Like my grandma was in a band years ago, and so like I remember as a little kid, what got me interested in all of it was going, Dukes of Hazzard when I was a kid. I was like 5, and I used to sit with my grandma, and we'd sit and watch Dukes of Hazzard and watch Waylon Jennings pick that guitar. Of course, I had no idea who Waylon Jennings was, but that just like I just fell in love with that, and so grew up listening to like that 70s country, and she loved all the old stuff like the 50s and 60s, and even in the 70s, even Janis and all that. And so like she really introduced me a lot into music when I was a little kid, and so like I just kind of held on to it, but never pursued it the way I should. And then I'd play at a bonfire party, or I'd play at whatever, it's a friend's house, and everybody's like, man, you got to do something with this. You don't want to waste this talent you've got and whatever. And that would almost make me feel even shittier, because I'm like, oh man, I suck. Like I'm such a piece of crap for not doing something with this. And so yeah, like when I was outside of work, it's like I'd drink, I'd get just absolutely stoned, and I would just sit around and try to think about anything but what it was that I really needed to be doing, which was like, and so it was kind of like funny, but that's ended up what kind of sparked me into like writing all these songs and doing all this stuff, because it's like I don't know, just like with you, probably with what you do, jiu-jitsu or whatever, it's like for me, songwriting it gets my head, like you said, getting your head clear, because that's all you can, songwriting is interesting for different people, but now that I've been in the industry for 2 weeks, and I've talked to like,
Now that you've been in the industry, you conquered it.
now that I'm an industry expert, it's like some of the other musicians I've talked to, like the people I've looked up to over the years, they experience this too, but certain people, when you songwrite, it's a very, it's dramatic. Like,
Do you write all your own songs?
yeah, but it's
Have you been accused of not writing your own songs?
very early on, yeah, because since I guess it's not even my stage name, it's Oliver Anthony Music, and so it's supposed to represent music from, Oliver Anthony Music as my grandfather, and so he grew up in the 30s in the mountains and used to tell all these wild stories about how life was back then, but the music's just sort of a characterization of like that period in time and those people, and that's. So yeah, when
So your real name is not Oliver?
Christopher Anthony Lunsford is my real legal name, and so that's what's on like if you look up the songwriting.
Why did you decide to sing as Oliver Anthony? Just in
well, like I said, I have it. I just had the YouTube channel listed as Oliver Anthony Music, just because like that's sort of the demeanor, or the, like I said, the character I was like that older Virginia style music, like. If you go on YouTube and you look up that type of music from back then, like those old recordings of people, like that's what I just love, that type of stuff.
Do you think you're going to keep that name?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people still call me Chris, and I've posted on social media, call me whatever. I mean, I've been called a lot worse than either of those things, but yeah, it'll stay Oliver Anthony Music, indefinitely. Yeah. It's a special name, and it's a special name to me not only because it was my grandfather's name, but it's sort of like, to me, it reminds me of how different things were back then. But he was born Oliver Anthony, but everybody called him Anthony growing up, and so like he always thought his name was Anthony Oliver, and last name Engel, and so like it wasn't until he was in his 60s and going to retire, he realized that his name didn't match his birth certificate, so he had to actually change his legal name when he was in his 60s. But it's because
he
back
thought his
then,
name was Anthony Oliver.
Yeah, and so
his whole life.
But his legal name was, and so it's and his parents named him. So it's just like, but all the paperwork back then was so scattered up because a lot of people were illiterate, and of course documents weren't tracked as well as they are now, you know. And so
I
it's
see.
like there's people in the family that have a different spelling and it's the same last name, but a few letters are different and stuff. But it's just kind of cool. Like, but he just thought that was crazy. He had to change his name when he was 65 so he could draw his retirement and all because his Social Security and everything was under a totally different name. But
that's crazy.
So it's just special to me. He's like the only other one in the family like me. Most of our family's like average height, 6 feet and under, but he and I were both, 6'6", redheaded, left-handed. Like I don't know. In a lot of ways, I thought it was special to kind of respect him. He passed away in 2019, and that's kind of when I guess that's when I first kind of adapted the name for the music. I didn't really get serious with anything until probably
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, until a couple weeks ago. Probably until I think I uploaded the first original. Like when I decided I was in it to win it, and I really wanted to make this thing happen. It was probably probably May of last year when I uploaded "Ain't Got a Dollar," or it might have been "Rich Man's Gold" was the first one I uploaded on YouTube. But that's when I decided, like, all right, I'm doing this thing. But yeah,
so you were just smoking too much weed, drinking too much, and just procrastinating.
Yeah. And so that, and like. Anxiety is definitely something that's underestimated. I used to but I used to just not really understand when people talked about mental health and anxiety because everyone gets stressed out over stuff, and so you think of anxiety as being just like this normal phenomenon everyone deals with. But your mind can really put you in a dark place to where that thing it just holds on to you like and it just makes it very difficult for you to do anything. And so I spent at least 2 years of my life almost constantly just having what felt like just a knot right here, just wrenching at me.
Well, that's especially true for people that are pursuing a non-traditional life, that doesn't have any guarantees. It's a wild life to try to be an entertainer, like to just to choose to try to make it in this wild world of people that are singing and making songs, and you want people to pay attention to you. Like, do you know how many fucking people are singing?
Yeah.
How many people can sing? How many people are recording things? And now with YouTube and the like, how many people are putting stuff up on the internet for other people to enjoy? It's a lot.
Well,
the idea that you're going to stand out. So that you're filled with anxiety just because of that, because this future's uncertain.
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of the anxiety came from me just feeling like I was running out of time. Like I knew that I had an ability to pursue this and kind of take this adventure on, and I just had kept, like I said, for 10 years or more, I'd pick the thing up for a few months and then I'd put it down, and just always doubting myself,
Yeah. Well, I think it's, the universe in some weird way always sort of finds, like for people that become very successful, especially like yourself, it's almost like that's the best way to do it. Like, I've never met anybody where I was like, your way to do it is the wrong way to do it. Like, everybody that I meet that becomes successful, especially like overnight people, it's like, oh, I see all these well, that's why you're good. That's why you're good.
Yeah.
You're good because you had a real life, like a real tortured, regular life, like regular people. If you're in the fucking Mickey Mouse Club when you're 14, and then all of a sudden you're famous. I love Miley Cyrus to death, and she's fucking insanely talented. And I heard her new album is her best ever. Everybody's raving about it. But I feel bad for people that become famous when they're young. I just feel like that's a heavy burden for you to have to carry, and you didn't ask for it. You can't ask for it. You don't know what it is. It's like it's like getting a face tattoo when you're 5. Like, it's like, I want to get a heart tattooed on my forehead. Let everybody know I'm full of love. Like, okay, Billy, let's take you to the tattoo parlor. Like, I want to be famous so everybody knows me. Yeah. Okay, Billy, let's get you in front of TV.
Yeah, and it's tough because then everyone's perception of everything's different anyway based off the way they were brought up. Like, the way you and I look at something, we both look at something a certain way, and it's our way of looking at it, and to us that's reality, but everyone's perception is just different, just inherently, just based off the way we were raised, and maybe even our genetics and the way our things we've experienced, or the way our parents taught us things. And so it is tough if you get thrown into that at such an early age, because this is just I feel bad for anybody that gets thrown into all this anyway. Like the things I've seen and heard and witnessed, and
just in a couple of weeks,
you need to do this and you got to do that. And
but that's just people
this kind of crazy
sense
of this almost crazy sense of urgency everyone's sort of thrown on me to do something with this, and it's like I don't. At the end of the day, I've got to remember who I was. a month ago, and I've got to make sure that and it's okay to evolve from that and change. And like, I don't want to always be stuck being that guy, but I don't want to like leave him behind either. I don't want to.
Listen, man, just be yourself. You're going to be fine. This is like this conversation that we had over the phone. I said, fuck all those urgent people. You have talent. You have talent. You don't need anything else but talent. Talent and authenticity. You got both of those things. This urgency thing, what the fuck are they talking about? You literally had the #1 song like instantly. Well, you can't do that again. How the fuck do you know? You don't know jack shit. These people are crazy. They don't understand what's going on, and they don't understand what it's like to be famous. You are in a weird spot
I think
right
what's so
now.
weird
What
about
you need to do right now is just keep being you. And don't let anybody control you, and don't let anybody and certainly don't let anybody put you on some crazy publicity campaign to try to capitalize on this great moment and immediately get some large record machine behind you and mass produce.
Because that really goes against the whole message that I wanted to get out in the first place. And so, what would it benefit me to sign a big deal or have some, like, I don't know, as busy as things get, I don't know that I'd ever let anybody even manage my social media and stuff. Like, that's just something that I'd like to have the hand on. And then if,
I do mine. I do all mine.
Yeah.
I don't let anybody do my shit.
Well,
That's
I think
ridiculous.
like just with your, like we talked about earlier, your show in general, the reason people watch it isn't, you could add more people in and have more special effects and lights and what, figuratively speaking, like you could make this into something bigger than what it already is, but it would just take away. Like sometimes the more you add, the more you take away. It's the fact that you have conversations with people that you're genuinely interested in. Like, we don't have enough real conversation anyway in the world. Like,
we have very little.
I had never had a Twitter account, and so I made one a couple weeks ago to like start uploading. Everybody's, you got to get on X and upload all the stuff. And within like a week, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like,
I'm tapping out. Yeah, I don't read any of my stuff on Twitter. I do post occasionally. What I do like to do is repost things that I think are interesting. I do like that.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate it.
Well, that's what Instagram, I put that up on.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people liked it. I think on my account alone, it had more than, let me say, I'll tell you how many views it had. I want to say it's somewhere around 11 million views. I was explaining it to someone the other day. I was like, do you know how insane that is?
Yeah.
Like that, you could put something up that this guy just made 12.8 million views.
Wow.
That's bonkers, dude. That's bonkers. That's a lot of fucking human beings. That's a lot of human beings.
Yeah, so I've had to ask myself, like, why that happened the way it did. And look, I've said this 100 times already, but like, I'm certainly no preach. Like, people have made comments about like, oh, well, why does he reads scripture or whatever and talks about God, but then he does other things like I do have some foul language, and I do sing some songs that I've written about whatever, getting high and hanging out in the woods. But like, it's just what I am. Like, I'm not here to say that I'm anybody better than anybody else by any means.
Well, didn't God invent the woods and weed?
Yeah, well, there you go.
I don't believe anybody that tells you that God doesn't want you to have weed.
I do want to use, if there's anything I would like to capitalize on with my opportunity, it's just like, because for me, just being in the position that I've been in the last 2 years and just the trash I've had in my head is, I tell you, like, I don't care who. And look, I haven't been in a church in 10 years, and I'm not saying I'd ever go back into one again. I don't know about all that, but there's a lot of things in Proverbs and Ecclesiastes that make sense and are timeless to today. Like, if people just could if people could just have enough open-mindedness to just read a little bit of Proverbs and just see what it has to say, I think like it would make the world a better place. There's a lot of truth in those words. They don't just talk about it's real life advice that I work toward every day, applying in my own life.
So was there like a moment with you, because I've read the legend story, but I wanted to ask you this in person. Was there a moment when you had like a literal come to Jesus moment where you realized you were at rock bottom?
Yeah, I mean,
what was going on?
Yeah, I was at a point where I was having, man, I don't even think I'd call it panic attacks. It was just like, everything was just so screwed up. I was getting like, I was getting chest pains and shooting pains all down into my, like I was having like almost cardiovascular symptoms that are just, I guess now I realize they're stress and anxiety related. But I really thought I was gonna die. Like,
holy shit. This is why you're drinking a lot.
I was smoking
weed a lot.
Yeah, well, I think maybe the weed was even causing some of that. Like I was slamming down some. You know, we can grow it in Virginia now, so I grew, I grew a lot of pounds of weed last year, and so like I've got. And I don't even know what I'm going to do with it all now.
You can sell that on eBay.
I've got, yeah.
Sell it in your truck. You can buy a Suburban.
I'll save it. Yeah, I'll save it for hard times.
If you come to Virginia, the back of the Suburban, where it's legal, the back of the Suburban will be packed with as much weed that is legal to sell.
But yeah, I had grown some crazy stuff and was smoking it. And
Oliver Anthony weed brand, we're in.
I think
Let's
it's
go.
like, yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan's got his own weed brand. Why don't you?
We'll talk about all that, the growing, because I am intrigued with the growing. But yeah, to your point, it was like I just almost disconnected from reality. I don't want to say I was having like, I was never psychotic or having like.
You're freaking out, man.
I was very disassociated from like my reality. Like I can remember just being around really close friends having dinner one night. You know, like. You get warm and fuzzy feelings being around people you care about, and everything was just ice cold. Like I just tried. It was almost like I just tried to feel something other than what I was feeling. And
what were you thinking during these times?
I was thinking that,
like, what was the state of your life?
I was thinking like that I was thinking like see, I don't know. Suicide's a weird thing because, and I can't speak for everybody, but for me, like, it wasn't that I ever wanted to kill myself. Like. I knew I wanted to keep trying to fight and get out of whatever it is I was in, but it was almost like at some point I thought I was going to do it almost as a fight or flight response, like that I couldn't escape whatever it is that I was in, and like that was going to eventually be my only way out. And so as sad and as whatever, like, and I hate even talking about this, but I feel like I should talk about it. I mean, where else to talk about it but on Joe Rogan? But it's like that was one of the things that compelled me to throw a lot of these videos up just off my phone. You know, like it's funny when I had those songs, and maybe I still do. I haven't looked at the charts in a week or whatever, but I had stuff on iTunes that was like in the top 2 or 3 spots. Other songs, those were just recorded off my Android phone, uploaded on YouTube. I ripped the WAV file off the YouTube video and then just uploaded through DistroKid. And so like people were buying like the number 2 song on iTunes at one point, I think it was Ain't Got a Dollar, and that's just the audio from the YouTube video. But I wanted to get all those. I had a lot of these songs sitting around.
From a microphone from the phone,
from my Android
microphone?
from my front camera on my Android phone. Yeah. And so like
it sounds pretty good.
I wanted to get all that up though because I really didn't know, like I didn't know if I was going to be around to do it. Like,
can you pause that for a second? Let's listen to that. I want to hear that. If you don't get freaked out and uncomfortable, listen to your own voice.
That's okay. No.
Good? Okay, good.
No, I like
Let's listen
it
because I want to hear what that sounds like.
This would be the Ain't Got a Dollar. The original version is a good example.
Recording off of Android phones might be the new thing.
You can tell it's very mono.
The new authentic. Recording off of Android phones.
Well, I ain't got a dollar, but I don't need a dime. I got a little spot in the country where I spend all of my time. When the sun goes down on this itty bitty town, we can light up the bowl, pass it around. I ain't got a dollar, but I don't need a dime.
Listen, man, you don't gotta listen to nobody. Tell them all to eat shit. Shut the fuck up. You can do whatever you want, man. You just keep doing that. You just keep doing that and do concerts.
That's what got me uploading the songs originally. I was like, I'll just go ahead and get something out there. And then, I mean, man, I was taking aspirin every day thinking like I was going to have a heart attack. It was just, I was having like all this crap.
So what was, when you were recording these things and releasing them, what was the hope? The hope was that people that would enjoy them? The hope
Yeah,
people
I was just trying to leave them out for the world in case like.
In case you died?
Yeah, in case I guess in case either I died from a heart attack or
do you know
like.
how huge these songs would be if you died? I think that's like the most horrible rumor about Jimi Hendrix is that his manager was like a gangster, had him killed. His manager had him killed because
it made him more of a legacy
because he was going to
artist.
leave and he owned the music while Jimmy was alive, and if Jimmy died, he would get the music, and they killed him.
Yeah, maybe I thought like I figured like that was the only thing I had that was worth anything, and so like if I was going to be a shitty enough person to like leave a kid behind and like whatever, my family and whatever else, it's like at least there'd be something there for them to be able to capitalize on and make.
Was your bad feelings come from? Did they come from a lack of hope for your future? Did you have like a sense of what would make you happy? What you were missing in your life?
No, like it's.
Or was it just
the mind
overwhelming?
is well, and for like I guess I'm a creative person, I guess you'd say, and so like for creative people in general, life is very imaginative anyway. So, like, again, it's like you and I could go to the same restaurant, sit down, order the same meal, have the same waitress, identical everything, right, in a parallel time. And you and I would walk out of that restaurant noticing different things, experiencing it completely different. Like, the mind perceives things individually, right? And so, like, when you get into a bad headspace like that, your perception of what would otherwise be good things can become very bad. And I don't know the best way to explain it because I'm not well versed on psychology or anything like that. But that's the best way I can explain it is like you don't understand sometimes what people are going through, even from the outside in. You know, you look at people who are not living life right and you're like, I just wish he'd just get his shit together. I don't understand why he's doing that. And it's like, because maybe in his head, what he's looking at is totally different than what you're looking at. And the mind's very complicated, you know, and my understanding is even now with all the studies we've done and the technology we have, like we understand the mind very little, but there's so much that goes into it. And like so much of our thoughts come from our gut biome and all, like there's millions of living things within us that I think influence the way we think and what we do. And it's a very complicated thing. So yeah, it's easy for people to get off track, and it's hard to get back on the track when you get off. Like it really took. That's why I say like I was really just even though it was on paper things were great, right? Like I was married, things were like I have a great marriage, I had a good job, like I worked my ass off, but I made good money. And
what were you doing for work?
So the last 6 years I've been in industrial sales. So I worked outside sales for because I was in the industry, like working factory work when I was younger. Had a bad accident, couldn't go back to that job, and then during that recovery period, I went to work. I don't know if I can say the place or not.
You don't have to say the place.
Okay.
What was the accident?
I fell and hit my head.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I had like an internal fracture. I remember riding in the ambulance on the way. I'd had seizures and all and passed out it's weird because I can remember laying there and remember the ambulance and the EMT people coming in, everybody around me talking to me, but like I could hear them, but I was just kind of in a dream. And I do remember waking up in the ambulance on the ride. I remember I had blood coming out of my ear and maybe out of my mouth or my nose, but I remember I had blood I went and reached and I had blood on my face. I was clean shaven then, but and I asked the guy in the back with me in the ambulance, I'm like, man, I was like, am I going to be all right or what? And he's like, buddy, we're doing the best we can. I'm like, oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
And that messed me up pretty bad. I was in the hospital. For 2 or 3 days, but even like for the next year after that, my memory was trash. I had really bad balance issues. Like it was difficult for me. It just kind of jacked everything up. I had a lot of inflammation and stuff in my brain, but that kind of. And I question whether or not that had a lot to do with my mental health issues. Like I've met a lot of people just even I've done 4 shows so far, and they've all been like intimate settings. And so like I've taken hours after each one to talk to everybody, to give everybody a chance to talk. And I've talked to another guy who had a bad head injury and has dealt with something really similar to me. But I almost wonder if that didn't affect that kind of knocked a few screws loose upstairs with like everything else that's went on. But I tell you, like
So you got depressed after that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Before then, I was totally fine. Yeah.
100% they're connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, it might not be the only factor that led you down that road, but 100%. That's a major symptom of fighters. When fighters get knocked out, when football players get knocked out, depression, major symptom. Mm-hmm. Major symptom. That's one of the real dangers of head trauma. There's a lot of people who have had severe head trauma that go to take their own lives afterwards.
Yeah, and looking back, I think that could be a big part of it because I look back into my 20s and a lot of it was very dark.
And that's after that?
For sure, yeah.
I guarantee you they're connected.
Yeah.
Guarantee you. And I guarantee you, like if you got your system, like if you had really good health care, they could find some issues with your endocrine system. A lot of times with people that have really bad head injuries, their pituitary gland gets damaged and your body's not producing hormones correctly anymore and you're just all fucked up. Your cortisol levels are all fucked up.
Yeah, because I would say that was the thing. It was almost like my brain was stuck in like this fight or flight type of thing. And maybe that's what the writing helped, because the writing helped it helped emphasize that more creative part of my brain to get me out of that headspace. But I loved my job I did because I was still in the field. So I was still on job sites and industrial plants and hospitals meeting. And so like I guess the reason I feel like, other than just really divine influence, again, based off of just the experience I've had the last 60 days with my faith and stuff, which is just, and I'd love to touch on that some too, but I've had so many conversations with people the last 6 or 7 years because it was my job to go, almost kind of like how you talk to people in here every day. I was going around and talking to Joe Schmo and Billy on job sites all day, and every walk of life, not just blue collar, like, and so like those are some just very authentic conversations you have with people because you're just a guy and they're just a guy and you're just talking, and so
you can still have those.
You
can still have those even if you get famous.
The same message kept coming across, which is really what I guess I resonated in this song. But people are just so tired, and so yeah, I think being in that position sort of gave me this unfair advantage to look into the world maybe on the inside. And
I don't think it's unfair at all. I think it's probably, I mean, if you wanted to believe in fate, I don't believe in fate, but I should. If anybody should, I should believe in fate. I've had a pretty lucky life.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it's real, though. But I also think if you believe it's real, I think there's a lot of things that if you believe, it's a lot of what's going on with human beings is the way the mind perceives things. And it's kind of the software you're running. That's why we seek out people who are inspirational. Like if you watch a David Goggins video, you will go work out. You will go work out. It will get you off your couch. If
it's funny just because
I guarantee you.
When we were running, we were joking. We were saying David Goggins quotes while we were running about carrying the boats and all that. Yeah.
Who's gonna carry the boats? David's the fucking man. And there's another guy, Jocko Willink.
I love him too. Yeah.
Jocko has a video. Find Jocko Good. Find that video. There's a video that I 100% legitimately play in my mind when I'm tired. I say good. I say it to myself. Like I was in the cold plunge the other day, and I was being a bitch at like 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and I was like, good. Listen to this video. Have you ever heard this? It's amazing.
I don't think I have.
Direct subordinates, one of my guys that worked for me, he would call me up or pull me aside with some major problem, some issue that was going on, and he'd say, boss, we got this and that and the other thing. And I'd look at him and I'd say, good. And finally one day he was telling me about some issue that he was having, some problem, and he said, I already know what you're going to say. And I said, well, what am I going to say? He said, you're going to say good. He said, that's what you always say. When something is wrong and going bad, you always just look at me and say good. And I said, well, yeah, when things are going bad, there's going to be some good that's going to come from it. Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good. Didn't get promoted? Good. More time to get better. Oh, mission got canceled? Good. We can focus on another one. Didn't get funded. Didn't get the job you wanted. Got injured. Sprained my ankle. Got tapped out? Good. Got beat? Good. You learned. Unexpected problems? Good. We have the opportunity to figure out a solution. That's it. When things are going bad, don't get all bummed out, don't get startled, don't get frustrated. If you can say the word good, guess what? It means you're still alive. It means you're still breathing. And if you're still breathing, well then hell, you still got some fight left in you. So get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, and go out on the attack.
That's what's up.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. That's software you can run in your mind. You could run that. You just need to listen to it and then apply it. That's real. Now, if you don't know that software, and if you know that there's a human being like Jocko out there in the world that's a real person that really does think like that, then you don't think it's possible. But it is. So you have to be seeing it. So you see it, now you know. You run that software. Run that software. I don't know how much of people's depression. I mean, I think depression has a mosaic of problems that's associated with it, and a mosaic of causes, like a large pattern. There's a lot of stuff going on that causes people to be depressed. Some of it, in your case, may very well have been from a physical injury, and I think that's a big factor.
I had never considered that until now. So
I think it's 100% connected, 100%, because it's totally in the literature. You know, my good friend Dr. Mark Gordon, he does a lot of work with traumatic brain injury patients, and he runs this Wounded Warriors. It's called what is it called? What is his the thing that he works with those guys? Warrior Angels, and it's helping people with traumatic brain injuries. And he's helped countless soldiers, fighters, football players, all these people. Yeah. And it's real similar with a lot of them.
Yeah,
they have no hope.
And exactly, and I guess that's the thing that I've learned from this. Again, from 18-year-old Chris, that thought a lot of that was just made up, and people giving excuses like to what I understand now about is, again, it feels that place that your mind can take you, it feels just as real as anything else. Like, even if you tell yourself, like, you can tell yourself 100 times that, oh yeah, well, you still got a job, you're still happy, everything's fine. It's like, I don't know, it's your perception of reality becomes very distorted when you're in that place. And it's again, for me, I think a lot of it came down to I just knew I wasn't fulfilling whatever purpose it was I was here to fulfill. You know,
you probably didn't have any energy because you had a head injury. It's probably a major factor in it.
Yeah.
Major factor. It's another major factor in people with head injuries. They drink a lot because their dopamine is really low. You know, like, it fucks up everything, man. And there's people that have traumatic brain injuries that are subconcussive trauma from playing soccer. People play soccer and heading the ball. It doesn't even hurt, but you throttle your brain in the cage over and over and over again, and eventually you have TBI. That's real. You have real like CTE symptoms for soccer players. I mean, it's crazy, but the head is just not designed to get hit.
Yeah.
And I've experienced it with so many fighters, so many guys that I know that got knocked out, and then after the knockout, they're like severely depressed, both because they lost, because like even if you lose by a decision, you get depressed.
Yeah.
It's a terrible feeling to lose in front of the whole world.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, just inherent loss in a lot of animals does that, you know, and that's a whole nother conversation. But one thing I did find from Jordan Peterson talking about the lobsters, it makes me think about the fighters, but it's like you lose that dopamine and that drive. All those chemicals are very tightly regulated to your performance and your place sort of within the world.
What did he say about the lobsters again? I forget.
So if two lobsters fight, the defeated lobster, he loses his drive and dopamine. He's like, there's some ridiculous chance that he won't win another fight. Like, he basically just becomes a bum lobster once he loses. But they can give them the same medications that they give humans to combat that, like whatever antidepressant or whatever.
So they're giving
and then
SSRIs to lobsters.
And then they're out there fighting. Well, you know, they give SSRIs to like, I've got some close friends in veterinary medicine. They have cats and dogs that take SS. Like,
oh God,
it's just
freaked out cats.
But I
and
can
dogs.
tell you, my experience with SSRIs were not pleasant. Like, all it did was just make me very numb, like just like and I'm certainly, like, again, I'm not giving anybody advice on anything, but just in my personal experience, especially for a guy, when you're on SSRIs, it does a lot of things bad to you. For one, like, if you're in a relationship, I hear this on both sides with men and women, but like, good luck like making love with your lover. Like, good luck having sex, because that's out the window. It messes with that. It messes with your thought patterns, and takes away, like, it was very difficult for me to write music when I was on it, and so I that was a short-lived life. But the best thing that I found that helped me, other than just jumping into this and making this music happen, like, along the way, was actually I found a lot of benefits out of CBD, like even smoking CBD flower. And so, like, that, surprisingly, like, I never really got benefits from the oil, but I'd say if anybody is in a position, like, listening to this right now, where you're having, like, daily panic attacks and you're just like, you're just there, you know, like, if you're listening, and you'll know what I'm talking about, but you're at that, like, breaking point, like I was. I found smoking CBD joints, like, not ingesting it where it would go through my system and go through my liver and all, but smoking it just like you would smoke traditional cannabis flower, knocked a lot of it right out.
Interesting.
Now, it's not going to fix it. There's an underlying issue that you got to figure out and address, but it'll at least give you some, like, it gave me some very good relief from that, you know?
That's amazing. That's really, really good to hear for people, because it doesn't get you high either.
Right, it doesn't get you high, but it
reduces inflammation.
Yeah.
Have you tried adjusting your diet?
Well, I'm good now. That's what's so funny. Like, since this has all happened, haven't had I'm telling you again,
because you're on top of the world.
Well, yeah, but even before it, like, I have to be careful with what I say, because I don't, like, my shit stinks. Like, I'm nobody special, and I'm not here to preach to anybody, but I'm telling you, like, giving things to God, for me, alleviated 99% of what, like, I had like, I don't know how to describe it, but when you experience, and I mean, you've done things that I haven't, like with DMT and all, and that stuff's very intriguing to me, and so I'm open-minded to all that as well. Like, I'm not, but yeah, like, I had, when I kind of had this breakdown moment and decided that I was going to let whatever ego I had go, and just, at this point, it's like, I knew I didn't have much left in for me anyway, and I wanted to serve whatever purpose it was that I was here to serve. It's like, you get this just overwhelming feeling in you. I was just crying like a baby, just this very, like, warm feeling throughout me, and that really hasn't gone away since. Like, I'm not the guy that can play in front of 12,000 people on guitar. I would be like, I mean, I had never played a paid gig. When we played the show at the farm market where Jamie Johnson showed up, that was my first paid gig. Like, I'm not a guy to go out and play live shows, but I can tell you, I was so, like, I was just so at peace being up there. Like, it just felt like that's where I was supposed to be. And with all of this, it has been like, there's no way that Chris from 6 months ago could handle what's gone on the last 2 weeks, but I feel just so empowered from all of it. And I don't know. I'm telling you, like, again, I'm not anybody special, and I'm certainly not here to preach to anybody, but just from coming from somebody who was just in a really just fucked up place, like, and I use that word like with discretion, but in this case it describes, like, where I was. Like, that guy found a lot of peace, like, from this book, and from
looking at things in a different way.
Yeah.
From looking at things through the eyes of Scripture. And
I think for me, it was like, I had been in church growing up, and I had been exposed to all of that, but I'd found a lot of theatrics and a lot of politics in church and in religion when I was younger, and so it just immediately turned me off to it.
So if you can, take us to, like, what was, like, the day you picked it up? What was the feeling that you had? Like, what caused you to act? What was it like when you did it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd been reading it here and there, off and on, and I had for, like, off and on for a long time, like, because I was introduced to it as a kid, but it was really just like, I remember I went to the ER for everything that was going on. I mean, I thought I was seriously going to die. Like, I was having shooting pains up under my jaw, down in my wrist and my leg, like, just cardiovascular 101 symptoms. Of course, I'm 31. I had been, like, I could run 4 miles without stopping, no problems. Like, I knew my heart was strong, but I just
freaking out.
Yeah, but I went and did that, and I remember being in the truck after that, just like, and I just had a breakdown moment. I was just crying, and was just I just felt hopeless, like almost the way a child feels hopeless when they, like, you can't find your parent or something, like a 4-year-old that can't find his parents or something. I was just like, just didn't have anything left in me, and I don't know. I just I just decided like right then and there, I was like, I know I can't do this anymore. But I know that I know there's things that I need to do. And I was just told God, I was like, just let me do it. Like, and I'll give all this shit up. I'll give up the weed, and I'll quit getting drunk, and I'll quit being so angry about things. And I'll just I'll just call it good. Whatever I've done up from up until I was 30 or whatever, 31, like we'll just call that good, and I'll start over again. And I'll make him the focus and not me. And I just tried to let my ego and everything that I was, just let that go and just focus on, because obviously, like, it's not just me. I've seen it with even other people I know, and I see it with celebrities and everything. But I don't know. I just feel like we're in such a weird place right now in the world that I feel like God's working inadvertently through certain people to get his point across.
So take me to what you did. Did you start reading the Bible? Like, what did you do?
I just changed my perspective.
You changed.
I quit worrying about me, and I started worrying about what it is that I'm supposed to do. You know, like it talks in the Bible about being a servant, and giving up, I guess, my desire and my will and whatever it is that I want to do. Like, I don't know the best way to describe it, but it's about trying to use what I have as a tool versus doing what I can in the moment to give myself whatever satisfaction that it is I'm trying to get. It's about trying to let go of your ego, I guess, in a way. And I mean, people pursue that mentality without faith. I mean, it's the idea of there being something bigger than you, but I think inherently all human beings idolize something. Like, it talks in the Bible about false idols. We all have false idols, like whether it's our phone or it's a celebrity or it's something we do or it's our addiction to food or drugs or whatever. But like, it's very difficult for a human to be the biggest thing on their hierarchy. There's always something above us, right? Because we're always in pursuit of something bigger than whatever it is in that moment. And I think for me, it was just about taking everything else, all the distractions and all the other things in my life away, and just ensuring that at least, and look, we all sin and we all do stupid things. Like, we're all just people. Nobody's special or righteous. People sometimes act like they're special and righteous, but we're all just the same thing. Like, but it's just about trying to make that my idol. Make God and the concept of what it is that He wants done on this earth my idol versus anything else. Like, we all serve some master, whether we realize it or not. So why not let it be the master that is above all?
And so when you made this transformation in your mind, did you then start reading scripture like regularly? Like, what did you start doing?
Yeah, well,
that was different.
Well, what really, I guess it's like now I don't read it. I don't read it because I feel like I should read it to be a better person. It's like now I try to read it for the guidance within it. And I'm still in the infancy stages of a lot of this. Like, I've read a lot of Psalms, Proverbs, and Ecclesiastes, and Luke, and there's other good books, but just trying to, I don't know, like trying to restructure, I guess, on a granular level, like I guess the neural pathways in my brain that have certain habits and certain ways of thought, like I've tried to retrain that to, like there's things it says, like, and I'll be very brief with this, I promise, but like one thing, ironically, it's Proverbs 4:20, which I thought you would like. So if there's anything better.
Perfect. Read it. Preach.
My son, pay attention to what I say. Turn your ear to my words. Do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart. For they are life to those who find them, and health to one's whole body. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Keep your mouth free from perversity. Keep corrupt talk far from your lips. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths for your feet, and be steadfast in all your ways. Do not turn to the right or the left. Keep your foot from evil. But
that's pretty fucking profound.
But the whole book of Proverbs is like that. Like, it's not preachy. It's not what you think. Like, it's good guidance. It's like good guidance that you would want a father to give to his son.
What do you think it comes from? Like, if you had to guess, where do you think the Bible comes from? Like, it was an oral tradition for who knows how many years before they ever wrote it down.
Yeah.
What do you think these stories come from?
Well, I believe that people come across in different points of time, and I think they are given messages that need to be delivered. And I'm not in any way trying to parallel me to anyone in any of these books by any means, but I do think that throughout history, like even beyond from what's been written in this Bible, there's been important people that came along and said important, or maybe not even important people. Sometimes it's the lowly of the low that come along and just say things that need to be said. And if I could, to me, it's like there's no question that this is an intelligent planet we live on, in an intelligent solar system. Everything is just much more immense than any human on Earth would admit. Like even people in science, so much of science is based on theory. Like it's this very elegantly written way of thinking, but it ultimately, if you take it down to its, like on a granular level, it's all in many ways based on theory. And so I think the Earth is far more intelligent than we realize, and the systems that we live in. Like I just don't think somebody just pulled all that out of thin air. I do think that, and maybe it's I've been waiting for my time to bring up the aliens but in all seriousness, it's like for me, I believe that well,
let me
if you read through it, it's so much of it is so timeless, and so much of it, if you read about the rich and the poor and the wicked and the way, just the inherent human behavior that existed at the time when these books were written back then, it's so parallel to what goes on today, like to the point that you wouldn't, if you just read it out of context and didn't know it was scripture, a lot of it sounds like something somebody wrote 2 hours ago and posted on a vlog or whatever. It's like it's, to me, there is no other book like it.
Have you paid any attention to Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson and their theories about the restarting of humanity?
Mm-mm.
It's a really fascinating field of inquiry and discussion, because it's now starting over time to be backed up by more science. Because there was always this curiosity, like when did the human race first invent civilization? And the current theory is that it was about 6,000 years ago. It's Mesopotamia, it's Sumer, and these areas, which is where we found the first written language, like first mathematics, cuneiform language. But what they believe is that's a restarting of civilization, and that very likely civilization existed at a very, very high level, somewhere around 11,800 years ago. And that what caused the end of the Ice Age also caused just a mass destruction all throughout the universe, or all throughout the Earth, rather, of particles from space slamming into the Earth. That the Earth goes through these comet storms periodically, and it happens, I think it's every June and every November. And when they go through these clouds of comets, occasionally we get hit by big ones, and there's a lot of evidence for this. And what they believe is that when you're looking at like the ancient Egyptian structures, when you're looking at some structures in Turkey and other parts of the Middle East, you're looking at things that are older than 12,000 years old.
Yeah, well, and I agree with that. I think that it's obvious that technology existed that we don't know anything about today.
Just the construction of the pyramids alone leaned you to that. Like somehow or another, they were able to do that. And they were able to do that with immense sophistication and insane capabilities. The ability to move stone from hundreds of miles that weighs tons. Yeah. Massive stones cut perfectly, stacked on top of each other, 2,300,000 of them that are perfectly due north, south, east, and west.
Yeah, that's the craziest thing, is that they could understand that at that scale. Like
the technology was almost we don't understand what they were doing. It's alien, and not alien like human being, not like non-human beings. I think there were human beings that made it, but I think to us, they went in a direction with their technology that's very different than we did. We went in this weird direction of internal combustion engines and silicon chips and all these different things. I think it's very likely that they had comparable, if not better, technology, but it moved in a completely different direction, whether it was using sound or vibration or some other completely undiscovered technology that we have yet to invent that was wiped out when civilization was knocked into barbarism. And I think that's one of the reasons why you go back in early history, people were so fucking savage, because I think that the people that survived that 11,800 years ago event, I think whatever was left was like fucking Walking Dead. And I think people lived a horrible life for a long time. And I think it was thousands of years of this until we emerged from that and finally started reinventing agriculture and cities and all these different things again. So I think the 6,000 year ago mark, I think if I had to guess, I would imagine that is the first example of a rebuild of civilization that took thousands of years to emerge from horrific slaughter.
It wouldn't surprise me if all that doesn't happen again. Like
It could easily happen again if we get hit
That
again.
was one of the initial things that really intrigued me reading in, I think it's, it talks about it in Ecclesiastes, but that everything that's happened under the sun has already happened before and will happen again. That generations that are yet to come will be forgotten about those that come after them. Like it's, I think just in the same way that we have a summer and a fall and a winter and a spring, it's like I think human society, just because of our human nature and like our pursuit for whatever it is that we want to, like our we just love to create and develop, and like so we shoot all the way up to the top, and then some tragedy comes along, whether it's self-inflicted or from comets or whatever, and then there we go right back down to the bottom. We start over again. And like there is a lot of weird things, like they've discovered a lot in South America recently because of the new technology, like the civilizations that existed down there that we had no idea. But like
Graham Hancock's talked
who knows
about that too.
what
It's called
who knows
LIDAR.
what's went on even just on this ground in years past that we'll never know about.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, we know quite a bit about Texas, which is a fascinating story in its of its own. But you know, what's really fascinating about Texas is they were dominating, like these nomadic tribes were dominating this land for hundreds of years, where people couldn't even settle down. There's an amazing book called Empire of the Summer Moon that's all about Texas and the Comanches and the Texas Rangers. Crazy stories, just crazy. But I think what the Bible is saying rings true, and that if people, you know, they just understood the history of the past from when they wrote the Bible, they had to have known massive catastrophes. They had to, but they believe that's what the story of the flood is from. The flood from Noah's Ark and even from the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is even older. It's like they have these similar kind of stories, and they think that these similar kind of stories relate to the immense flooding that occurred after impact. They think that after impact, well, they know that at one point in time, the United States, half of it was covered with at least like a mile of ice. Some places it was more than a mile, which is just insane to think.
To think now,
Standing here and looking straight up for a mile, cover in ice.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you even wrap your head around that? It's so difficult to even imagine.
And it's crazy to think about it existing then, but also that, like, that's, I guess, when I talk about the intelligence of, like, whatever system it is we live in, the fact that the Earth is able to self-correct itself over a period of time. It's like no matter, and even today when we see cycles and things happening, it's like, I don't know that, I'm sure that we could destroy the Earth with some of the technology we have now. Like, I fear that we don't, that this sort of proxy war that we've involved ourselves in doesn't escalate into something bigger, because we could wipe society out indefinitely. But
we were talking about this yesterday with Peter Berg. He's a director, actor. He's a guy who did Lone Survivor, made that movie, made that Painkiller show that's on Netflix. And he did a tour of one of those battleships, and he saw the missiles that could carry nuclear warheads. He's like, what the fuck? Like, one of these ships could literally wipe out the whole Earth. It's so bonkers. It's so bonkers that these things exist, and that there's thousands of them.
Thousands of them ready to go.
Thousands of them ready to just flatten the planet. That probably has happened before. And if I had to look at things with the most optimistic perspective, my most beautiful optimistic perspective is that's what the aliens are here for. That's the beautiful one, is that life exists everywhere in the universe. and that it's a very complicated process of evolving from territorial apes to becoming these intergalactic travelers that have no ego and don't display irrational behavior and work for whatever purpose. Because that's where it gets weird. It's like if you don't have emotions, you don't have jealousy and envy and love and lust and all the things to fight against and all the things to fight for. If you don't have those things, like what is purpose? What is our purpose as humans? And it's very terrifying for us. It's one of the reasons why we're most scared about technological innovation, where it comes. That's Terminator, that's everything.
Yeah.
All these things that we create that wind up killing us. And that we are somehow or another purposeless if we don't have all these things that we cling to, like love and fear and anxiety and jealousy and all the stuff that we want. We want to be praised and loved and all these different things that motivate people to succeed and do things in life. Without that, what are we? That's a big question. But with it, how dangerous are we? We do use it in so many different beautiful ways, like your music, or like like a great book, or there's ways that people use this that are beautiful. But it's ultimately the reason why life is so scary. It's ultimately why during the period of mass communication, during the period of exchange of information worldwide, which has occurred from the start of the 20th century to where we are in the 21st century, we've never had a time where we could communicate with mass amounts of people better. But we're at the verge of nuclear catastrophe. We're still in this very terrifying place where one group of people, for some reason or another, opposes. Like, I don't know anyone in Russia. I don't know anyone in China. The idea that somehow or another China is my enemy or Russia is my enemy, like how? How did that happen?
Yeah, well, the people there aren't.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So
their
it's
establishment's an enemy of our establishment, right?
The idea that what the human mind is capable of in creating great art and great music is also capable of dominating massive groups of people through tyranny. We have to be very careful, because that same thing that makes us this emotional being that wants all these weird feelings, that's the same thing that leads us down the road to tyranny. And I bet that exists everywhere in the universe. I bet the aliens, if they're coming down here, they want to be very careful with this species while it's going through this transition, because I bet this shit is very touch and go. And I bet every now and then some fucking Putin-type character goes, oh, yeah? Yeah, NATO? Fuck you. I have cancer. Fuck you.
Yeah, well, that's all so complicated because, like...
It's scary.
All that starts with someone's imagination. Like, it all starts... And that's... On the other end of that, though, to your point, it's like that's what I find so important about freedom of speech and the ability for people to have good, honest conversations, because you can imagine the mind is just as capable of creating good as it is evil. I think right now maybe we're creating a little more evil than we are good, but
I don't think so.
I think things can turn around just as quickly as they've turned bad, as far as on a global scale.
I don't think we're creating more evil than we are good. I think if you look at the statistics of history, human history, we're moving in the right direction. Even though there's a lot of struggle, it's not like a perfect curve. It goes up and down. But over time, if you look at just violent crime and horrible things that people do to each other, it's down almost everywhere in the world where it was 100 years ago. And I think it's moving in that general direction. I just think it's messy. Human beings we fuck up a lot to get better, and things have to like I was having a conversation with a friend about Nordstrom's closing in San Francisco. They get robbed so much they're just like, we have to close up. San Francisco's so crazy. It's so fucking crazy, and the person I was talking to was like, good. That they'll have to reassess now. They have to realize their policies are crazy, and they're going to have to put someone in here that fixes it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, or it becomes like a third world city, like some crazy, like violent, crime-ridden city that's controlled by gangs. Like that could happen too.
What do you feel like? See, to me, I perceive that as being a symptom. Like, what do you think the problem is? Like, I mean, I know the easy answer is it's the people that run the government in California that have like made it into this atrocity that it is, that it wasn't maybe 15 or 20 years ago. But like, there's also a big problem too with like homelessness and drugs and like.
Well, cynical me wants to think that there's a conspiracy. Cynical me wants to think that if you create more problems, more crime, more confusion, then people will give in to more control by the government to somehow or another mitigate those problems that exist everywhere. There has to be a solution. This is the only solution, is that you have to have a digital ID. You take it everywhere you go. Everyone has a cell phone, so everyone has a digital ID. That way we'll catch everyone when they're doing all these crimes. That's scary.
And
because they're not just
like,
going to use it for that. And then they're going to make up crimes. They're going to decide that you saying things that they don't like that may even be true, like malinformation. Like that's a crime. And then they'll shut down your social media. And look, we saw that during the Twitter Files investigation from when Twitter first was purchased by Elon Musk, and he let these journalists go over all the emails. They're like, holy shit, the FBI's telling people to delete tweets. Yeah. Like, this is nuts.
Well, again, it goes back to freedom. I can see that there is a power at B that wants to limit free speech.
Sure, people that have money that are making money off of suppressing information.
And free speech is such a precious thing. Like, that's something that if we have something precious, a resource that needs to be protected more than anything right now, it's freedom of speech.
It's a very important thing for this country. And, I've said it many, many times, but it's the reason why this country has created so much culture. The reason why there's so much art.
Sure, and you've seen that like spread out throughout the world. Like, to your point, like 100 years ago, even though a lot of these countries, they've got radical politicians that are locking them down and taking away their rights, and all that's happened within the last 10 or 15 years maybe. But in general, like whatever craziness that we established here, like arguably the first country, I guess you'd say, in modern history that had some form of democracy and some form of involvement of citizens deciding what it is they want, what the world they want to live in. Like, that's spread out. Like, you see, most all countries have some sort of. You don't see a lot of kings and dictators running countries anymore. They have an election cycle now. Whether or not it's all credible or not, I don't know. But the idea that like sovereign people can live in a land and decide what it is that they want for themselves is something that like has not existed. It has not existed for a very long period of time in the world, and it is precious that we hold to it. And I guess going back to my point earlier about the federal government and state and local level, it's like I just think there needs to be more strength within local communities as far as people making decisions and uniting with one another. And I've had a lot of people. When an ugly ginger's walking around, like everybody's like, "Oh, is it that guy?" And so I've had a lot of people stop me on the street and in parking decks and at the airport and at the hardware store, and like, how many times I've at least a dozen times now I've had people tell me that they're talking to people they haven't talked to in 5 or 6 years that they got pissed over politics about, and just this message that's coming out has given them I know a guy in my own personal life, he hasn't talked to his brother in 6 years because they disagreed over Trump and Biden. And even prior to that, like, they just left and right. And
which one was the Biden guy?
The guy I hang out with is because obviously I live out in the country. I own guns. Like, the people in my neck of the woods are not. Despite what they may say on a news organization somewhere, like a lot of the people I hang out with in the area of the country I live in is stereotypically red, right? Because a lot of people will vote, no matter what other influences there are, a lot of people will vote conservative just because of their Second Amendment rights, which was very much under attack in Virginia. Like, you remember when you're out the sanctuary cities and all the counties that decided, well, even if the federal government bans this, we're not going to enforce it, type of a thing, which was crazy to see, like, in our time. He voted. He was a big Trump guy, and he watched his certain news organization, and then the other guy was for Biden, and he watched his news organization. And so they just basically picked up whatever narratives they got from each other's news, and they would just, they let that destroy literally a
friendship.
Yeah, they were brothers, biological brothers. And so
dumb.
That's not good for us as a country. Like,
well, it's not a wise thing to just apply to your life as a human being. You can have people in your life that have disagreements with you. I have people in my life that disagree with me on so many things. Absolutely, on politics. Absolutely. Especially like when I was a Bernie Sanders supporter. There's so many people that are like, "You're a fucking idiot." Like, listen, I would like to try it that way. Let's try some guy who doesn't want war at all. Let's try some guy who wants to take a certain percentage off speculation trades in the Wall Street, where they're doing these and they're running a tiny fraction of a penny for each one of them. And he's saying it would generate an insane amount of money that could be applied to education, that could be applied to healthcare. You could give people free healthcare. You could give people free education. Well, why wouldn't we do that? If you got some guy who doesn't want to divert money to these fucking forever wars and instead wants to apply it to communities, I was like, let's give that a chance. Maybe it won't work. I don't know jack shit about politics, but I sincerely believe the guy. And I'm like, that to me is at least an option for change. And that guy had been the same guy his whole life. He had been always pushing for that his whole life. He's kind of gotten tired in his later years, but that's just understandable. He's kind of like supported.
Yeah, and so you believing in
party.
someone shouldn't. Yeah, it shouldn't suspend your friendships or relationships with other people. Like,
yeah,
I guess
but it's just you're hanging out with dummies. People should have I have many friends that are Trump supporters. I have many friends that wholesale believe in the Democratic Party no matter what. It's a million times better no matter what anybody says. And no matter what anybody says about the Biden family, the Trump family's
I've seen a lot of people
worse.
change that now, though, in recent years. Like, even people who were hardcore conservatives and hardcore Democrats, like, I don't think whatever a Republican and Democrat was represented at some point in time is anymore. Like, both sides have. I mean, like I said, I love freedom of speech and I love the Second Amendment, but there's a lot of things that I see that I don't like. I mean, you got to think, I'm 31, so I was in 4th grade at 9/11. So we were in endless war from 9/11 on, and even when we shouldn't have been, like, so both sides have like just picked up on things and ran with it, but they use certain emotional triggers to like keep their fan base happy, like oh, they're going to take your guns, and the other side, they've got all their emotional triggers and their things that they're trying to feed their audience with. But I guess, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't help either side to pick. Like, no, in my opinion, no one can go into that position in politics, in the White House or anything else for that matter at this point, because of how just inefficient and how large the federal government is. I don't think anybody can go into those positions and overnight save everything. They can certainly make big influences. I mean, you saw when Trump was in office, the economy was rocking. But then other things that he did, like there's things like warp speed and all that, like that, there was a lot of controversy around all of that. And so,
well, he would have to be a vaccine scientist to even understand what they were doing. And imagine being him, and this is not to defend Donald Trump, but imagine being him and being in control of all of it. You're in control of the economy. You're in control of foreign relations. You're in control of the biggest military the world has ever known. You're in the public eye. You're tweeting about your ex-girlfriend being horse-faced. It's like,
yeah, I don't think one person can do it.
There's so much shit going on in that guy's life. Do you think that he had the time to investigate the efficacy of the COVID vaccines that were this novel mRNA technology that never been applied to hundreds of millions of people, and that you had to trust the CDC and Fauci and all those people? Like, how could he know? How could anybody know?
And that's a good example of why I don't think we can or should rely on one person to save us on all those issues. It's something we've got to work out on a personal level,
Well, it's insane. It was invented back when people lived in tribes. So you had a tribe of 50 people. You want that old guy. He's got a lot of scars on his face. He knows how to run shit. He knows what to do wrong. He knows what to do right. He survived. All of his brothers died. Like, those guys are the guys you want teaching younger people. It's like we were talking about with older folks. That was the whole idea of a tribal leader. Like, this was the greatest warrior. This is the smartest chief. This is the person who's like, they can lead us and they want nothing but good for us because they love us, because they know us. Biden doesn't know you. He don't know you.
None of them
You
care.
don't know. He don't know you. He don't care. He just wants to get up there and say his speech the right way, and then they give him ice cream, and then he sits down. And then did you see that woman who's the White House press secretary? Now, I don't know if this is true, so we should find out if it's true. Did she or did she not accidentally delete a Biden tweet from her account? So it was a tweet as when I ran for president, this and that.
And she accidentally posted it on her
She
own.
accidentally posted it on the wrong. I want to find out if that's true, though, because that could be Russian disinformation, because that's true, too. Here's one of the reasons why free speech is so important in this country, given the parameters of social media, is because we know that foreign interests are interfering with our discourse. We know it. It's proven that there's troll farms they have in Macedonia. I'm sure they have them in China. They have troll farms where people create accounts and then they argue with people about stuff. And they'll post links to fake stories and they'll post fake information. They may even post fucking AI voice swap shit. But what they're doing is trying to get people arguing about stuff, trying to get people to diminish their faith in democracy, trying to get people at each other's throats from the right and the left. It's manipulated.
And
It's
think about
real.
who that benefits.
Investing in America means investing in all of America. When I ran for president, I made a promise that I would leave no part of the country behind. So she did do it. She really did tweet it from her account. Is that real? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. She really did do it. Oh, my God. That's so crazy. So, of course, when you read his tweets, it sounds like her. Like she's got a very politician way of doing it. She's like an AM radio DJ,
Well, that's
version,
her job, right? Like she's
version
gotta-
of what a press secretary is.
Yeah.
Like a politician. Because, AM, all right, here we are on the drive. I'm Mike and I'm with The Rock, or whatever, with the fucking sidekick.
And maybe that's what attracted people to Trump, and maybe what attracts people to thank God I haven't. Especially now, at least I've got a good excuse not to keep up with politics anymore because I've got a few other more important things on my plate. But I think that's what attracts people to like that rough, raw, authentic type of speech. Like it's not clean cut and it's not professional, but it's at least, like you said, even with Bernie, which who knows? I don't know anything about Bernie, but
He's not polished.
But at least what he's saying
Yeah.
is like, at least you feel like he believes it because
He believes it.
You look at you can look at politicians over a 15-year span and like they'll quote something from like, oh, good God, I think any politician from the 90s is going to have a lot different opinions on emotional triggers that we talk about today.
Bro, politicians from the 90s, from the
Everything's
Democratic Party sound like
totally
Nazis.
different. Yeah.
They sound like Nazis. There
So
was
what-
this
like, what does that
crazy,
tell you,
when
you know?
Biden passed the crime bill in 94, there's this famous speech that he gives about locking people up so that his wife is safe and so that
Oh, yeah.
they're safe
Yep.
and that I'm safe. And it sounds like right-wing, like Proud Boy speech. It's fucking crazy. It sounds like Patriot speech.
No,
like what you worry about
again,
militias saying.
I know very little about any of this, but my understanding is I know for sure with Hillary Clinton, but I think even with Obama, originally their stance was very much against gay marriage, and then it
Yes.
flipped around.
She didn't support gay marriage till 2013.
Yeah.
2013. No,
So, like,
crazy.
how can
Bro,
those-
pass them cigars. You're going to bust out your first cigar ever.
Yeah, so
on the
this is
podcast.
exciting. So like I said, a fan gave me these at a show. But yeah, so that's the thing. I hope to see.
A fan gave you these? How do we know they're not laced with fentanyl?
Well, I'm going to let you.
I'm gonna go the way
I'm
of
gonna
Tom
let
Petty
you try
here.
it first.
God damn it. Oh, they're sealed. It definitely has to be real if it's sealed in plastic. And it says it's from Cuba. So it must be from Cuba. You know
I
how
should
many-
have brought the note with him to give the guy a shout out. That's my fault, but he's a cool guy. He's
Well, hey, cool guy. Thanks for the cigars. I hope you're not poisoning me, bro. We're going to find out shortly here. These are supposedly the real ones from Cuba. But you know how hard that is to get? Like, the real
Is it?
ones. Yeah, there's a lot of fake ones. It's one of those things where, for whatever reason.
how do you tell the difference?
I don't
You
know.
don't?
I'm not a cigar aficionado. I like cigars. I can't even open a box. That's how I suck. I'm not a. I like them, but I don't know jack shit about them. Like my friend Bobby Kelly, he knows a lot about cigars. He could tell you all that shit, and he can answer all these questions. But I know the good ones. They just taste good, and they feel good. Like there's something about you piece of shit. Something-
Sorry, we should have done
It's
this.
okay. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong. I'm just trying to slice open this little cover with my sweaty hands. Come on, bitch. God damn it. This is hilarious. This
Maybe
is
he
so
set us
hard to
up.
open. Yeah, maybe he did. Maybe it's a bomb. Maybe it is. He said he's given us a bomb. And I
Maybe
should
it's
have
a sign.
passed this through security.
Yeah, maybe it's a sign that we.
I'm trying to preserve the looks of this box. I'm out the window.
Oh,
with
I'm
that.
not worried about that.
Yeah, but everybody likes boxes. In the cigar world, people like they like the whole thing behind it. They like cutting the cigar and smelling it, and they like knowing that it came from some craftsman's hands. And it's just hilarious.
They like the experience of it.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't get into this box. This is brutal. It appears that this is a fake box.
We'll have to start. We'll have to Have to plan that out better next time.
Yeah, man, for real. Maybe I should give this to Jamie. He'll figure it
I
out.
think I see the seal in a different spot.
Do you?
I think the top flips up. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm not-
you're right. God damn it. That's hilarious. That's how dumb I am. How do I not know this? It's up here. So these bitches need to cut it along this way. I thought there's a line in it, and I thought that line was the seal.
This will be like a
Bro.
perfect YouTube short of us trying to get the box open.
No, it'll take too long.
It's not short anymore.
It's not short. This is way too long. This is pathetic. Come on, bitch.
Maybe they are. Maybe they've been packaged away for 50 years. And it's
No, these can't be that old. They wouldn't
There
be
you
good.
go.
There
Look
we
at that. Awesome.
Bro, I split the box. This bitch does not want
Is
to
it
open.
the wrong side?
I don't know. It isn't anymore. Now it's the right side. There we go.
Oh, look. There you go.
It's the wrong side.
Jesus Christ.
Beautiful.
Ta-da.
Awesome.
All right, smell that. That's what you got to do. You got to smell them. This is what they do. They take them, they put them by their nose. That smells good.
Look at that.
Now we're going to have to find out if these are fake.
How do you know?
Bill Burr says you just know. You know. I got some real ones. Yeah, you fucking know.
Are you supposed to leave this on or slide this off?
That's personal preference. A lot of
Okay.
people leave them on. Let's slide them off. They seem a little
Yeah.
ostentatious, a little ridiculous. For a regular guy like yourself, we need to.
Yeah, for Joe Schmo
Here we
like
go.
me.
Now, real cigar people, you're going to have to do that by yourself because you got to kind of suck on it while you're doing that. Real cigar people will tell you what you're really supposed to do before you even suck
That's
on
fancy.
it is roll the flames around the end. So you should probably do it correctly because I didn't. They'll get mad. Yeah, you do that. You get it a little cooked.
Kind of get it a little burn up.
Get it a little cooked. There you go.
Okay.
Now, put it in your mouth and light it and suck on it at the same time. And then you get a nice pull.
That's yeah. I feel like I need to get some bull horns for the hood of my truck now.
Bro, these might be legit. Can I see that? Here we go. These are good.
You think they're good? I mean, they seem good to me, but I wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not an expert. I don't even know how to open a box. But they're good in that they're smooth. They're very smooth.
Mm-hmm.
So if it really is from Cuba, there's only like it's a very small area where they grow these Cuban cigars. What is it called? Abalto Viejo Abalta or something like that. What is the area of Cuba? It's like, but it's a very like surprisingly small area where they grow the best cigars, and it's just something about the soil that makes and the climate and everything's perfect. But they grow really good cigars in Nicaragua. They grow really good cigars in the Dominican Republic. It's kind of now it's like, you know,
It's funny because I've never really
Yeah,
been
that's what it's
interested in
called.
the cigars, but you know who? One of my favorite guys on YouTube is Dry Creek Wrangler School. I don't know if you've watched that guy.
Yeah, I have watched
I
that
love
guy.
watching him, and he's kind of gotten me interested in trying him out.
this is well now you're trying them. Vuelta, how do you say that? Vuelta Abajo. That's the area. So that one area just has bomb ass soil. And they figured out a long time ago they grow the dopest cigars there. Do you know that when the embargo happened with Cuba, JFK ordered a shit ton of cigars before the embargo? What a dirty bird.
He knew.
What a dirty bird.
Yeah.
Even the one guy that we love the most, that was his insider trading. That dirty bird. He went out and got like, how many boxes did he get?
1,200 cigars.
1,200 cigars. 1,200. I know that there was like an auction at one point in time for his humidor. I think it actually still had some of his cigars. See if you could find that. Maybe I'm imagining that.
Humidor auction pops up.
JFK humidor option?
2017, it went on sale.
That's right.
$575,000.
Dude. 500. Imagine what a baller you have to be sitting there with like your Tiger Dick tea, you know, smoking rhino horn Like what other things do you have? Like a 1,000-year-old bottle of wine and
I'm gonna,
JFK
if I hold
cigars.
on to my boots long enough, maybe that's what they'll sell for. 100
No,
years
you
from
have to
now.
keep them, man. You have to just get them resold. Come on, man. You already broke in the best part. If you can get a good pair of boots and like break them in. My favorite boots are made by this company, Origin. This is a company that Jocko's a part of, and they make everything American made. The factories in Maine, everything. The leather, the cloth, the threads, everything. And they make handmade boots, handmade jeans, jiu-jitsu gear, hunting gear. It's fucking awesome. And it's all like under like Jocko's leadership and Pete, the other guy who runs it.
I'm excited. I hope to meet Jocko one day. He's
He's
another
awesome.
he's
I'll
another
look it up.
YouTube guy. I'd
I'll
love
look
to
it
do
up.
that. Love to go do a hunt or something like that. That'd be pretty
Dude.
cool.
Do you
I
hunt?
don't.
Have you hunted before?
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of the guys in the comments were saying on the Richmond North of Richmond video. They're like, I don't think that tree stand is going to be very good this year with all that screaming and shouting y'all were doing down there. But yeah, I hunt on my land and I let people come in and hunt it. I don't run dogs or anything, but that's real popular in Virginia. So we'll do our thing at like early season, and then we let the club come in and run dogs at the end of the year. You know, that's very controversial in Virginia. There's like, you want to talk about Coke and Pepsi politics, like that's definitely part of it. You got people are very opposed to running dogs, and you got some guys that just, it's like such a long tradition, you know, those two clash together. But as far as like any of the big game, like the stuff we were checking out and all, I'd love to experience that once. That'd be crazy.
So do you use dogs to catch deer, or what do you?
They run the deer.
They run the deer.
Yeah, so they use them just to get the deer moving. Which again, I don't know enough about it one way or the other. But Virginia's got a really healthy deer population, all things considered. Like
I just think people think it's cruel. You know, people think it's cruel when they do that with mountain lions too. But I was trying to explain to listen to somebody, if you don't do that, you don't get mountain lions. Like you're not gonna find them. They know you are coming long before you have any idea they're there, and they're gone, and they're smart.
See, I don't know if I'd want to kill a mountain lion. I think I just want to like. See, this is one thing people give me hell about, but like we've got on my property, we've got coyotes and bear and bobcat, and we get them on camera a lot. Like, there's a huge bear we kept getting June and July. I was like, man, I don't think I'd want to shoot him. I think I'd want to just admire him and let him go. I don't know. Like, I'm just funny about that. Like,
Well, there's nothing wrong with not wanting to shoot an animal, you know. And if you don't want to shoot a bear, look, I've eaten bear. I've hunted bear. Bear tastes good. You can eat bear, but it's not my favorite thing to eat. It's not, but it is also an animal that has to be managed.
yeah.
The thing about biological management, this is the uncomfortable truth of it, you have to have a balance. There's wildlife biologists, they observe populations, and they want to enact some sort of a balance of predator and prey. And when you have an overabundance of predators in areas that are, like when you have hunting that's off limits, you create a really dangerous imbalance. And they did that in all places in New Jersey. The governor of New Jersey ran on this platform of stopping the bear hunt in New Jersey, because a lot of people in New Jersey, they live in urban environments like Newark and, you know, like Hackensack, and like that's where the population is. And they're like, oh, we don't want you voting to kill bears. Why would you kill bears? But what they don't understand is like rural New Jersey has the highest bear per capita in the country. There's more black bears in New Jersey than any other state, which is so nuts per capita.
I wonder why that is.
Because they're fucking everywhere there, and there's not a lot of hunting, you know. So they had a bear season, and this governor came in and stopped it. It was part of the things that he ran on. And then when he got into office, he realized after a while, like, oh my God, we have to kill these bears because like human bear interactions are growing up. A kid at Rutgers got killed
Oh, that's
by a
crazy.
fucking bear. Like he was out in the woods near the campus, and he got fucking slaughtered.
See, I always wonder if I'm going to get. I think the bobcats psych me out more than anything. The bear I'm okay with. Like I feel like they'll leave me well enough alone. But
Until they don't.
I remember even when I first bought the place, like right after I closed on it, because I'd had my house before that. I had a house with 5 acres and like had the little homestead thing going, and we had like some basic stuff, horses and chickens, and
Well, that's cool.
but I knew I wanted more land, and with the way everything is, like they're not making any more of it, So I said
Right.
I'll go ahead and that caused a lot of controversy with my better half and I, because she thought I was crazy that I was selling our comfortable house we're living in to go buy land and stick a freaking camper on it until we can afford to build something. But man, I remember my first weekend. It was Memorial Day weekend of 2019. Was like the first time I slept out there. And I knew what a coyote was, but I'd never heard a bobcat at night. And it was me and the dogs, and we were tent camping out there, and it was like 2 a.m. There's a bobcat like right on us, doing that the noise they make.
What is the noise like?
Sounds like a demented baby crying. I don't know. It'd be cool to hear if people
Yeah.
haven't heard it. But it was, and the dogs. So anyway, we ended up leaving in the middle of the night because my dogs wouldn't stop barking. But the bobcats are the only thing out there really freaks me out. Like one of them jumping on you.
I don't think they attack people though. Let me hear this shit. Whoa.
It sounds a lot wilder than that. Maybe we get going.
They live up to 12 years in the wild.
Yeah, that.
Jesus Christ. Whoa. I saw a lynx once in Canada. It's fucking cool.
Oh,
It's just weird to see some wild cat up in Alberta in the woods.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, that thing is fucking cool. They have like cool paws, like
Yeah,
to
they're
get around
gorgeous.
the snow. Yeah. It's just wild that there's a cat up there. When you think about cats, at least I do, I always think about like warm environments, like tropical cats.
Yeah.
I'm
excited to.
What is this one? Bobcat attacks coyote? Oh, Jesus.
I stopped it before I saw it ran away. I thought you got him.
Whoa, try to get him. Wow, bobcats try to kill coyotes.
He's just hiding in the fucking grass.
Look at him. Look at that little killer. He's just trying to kill anything he can. Imagine having instincts like that. Everything that comes close to you, you want to eat. Mm-hmm. That's a cat.
That's one thing I am excited with the opportunity I've been given with all this is I do want to travel more and get out into nature in different places. This is my first time I've never left the East Coast.
Oh, really?
Like this is my first time in Texas, but
Holy shit.
This is my first time any farther west than I think the farthest west I've ever been is Tennessee. So I'd love to go. And I don't know what'll happen with me next year. Like everybody wants to pull me in 10 different directions, and but I've always just been drawn to nature and being connected to it. And so like I'm sure we'll do some big shows and we'll do some things next year, but my heart is just pulling me. I'm just excited to go experience the first time I go to Wyoming and stuff, like that's going to be it for me. Like just getting to see that experience. I've seen it on the internet, but
It's pretty stunning.
like, and I've watched all these videos in Canada. One of my favorite YouTubers is Camping with Steve, and it drives my wife crazy because like anytime we want to watch something at night, I always want to watch Camping with Steve. But he's a guy up in Canada, and he goes and does all these obscure like different types of camps, different places. But just some of the area he explores up there in Canada, just awesome. It's just like I've got to try it out for myself.
Wilderness like that, when you're looking at mountains and stuff like that, it's some kind of medicine for the human mind. It's something about the awe-inspiring beauty of it and just the vastness of it. It's like it like sets you at ease in some strange way. It also is very lonely. It's weird that it's like because you realize like, oh, I'm not important at all. Mm-hmm. So when you're out there in the woods, you're like, I'm not important at all.
Yeah, well, you realize like, and maybe that's part of what I was trying to convey earlier in my words too. But it's like you realize that there's whatever problems and issues you've in your mind have sort of perceived to be top ranking, like they really are irrelevant. You know,
they really are.
In the
irrelevant.
bigger scheme of things, like it's a beautiful thing when you can because you really find peace in that. But there's something about being out in nature. I don't know. Like I've read all these things about. There's this whole kind of hippie spiritual side to being out in nature, but there really is something just very peaceful about it. Like, and I found that even on my property, being able to just be out there in the woods just helped me tremendously with everything. I've been reading about like these different like healing centers and camps and things that they're using to try to, it's for people like that are getting out of rehab centers or PTSD or whatever. But like they have some of these nonprofit organizations where they take people out into that environment, and they found a lot of benefit in it for people. But I'm looking forward to getting to experience just different parts of the country and even outside of the country. Like I think if I get anything out of this, like there's anything I'm really excited about, it's just getting to camp different places.
That's cool, man. That's a beautiful thing to look forward to. That's smart. You got your head on right. This is going to be fun for you, dude. You're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
You're going to have a good time. You're already making the right decisions.
I'm having a good time now, so this is cool.
It's crazy overwhelming, I'm sure. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to be you. I got a nice slow trickle of fame.
Yeah.
Like just like I got like snake venom. Like you get a little bit more all the time, tolerate a little bit more. You get to a point you can still be yourself. That's where it gets weird. You know, you're just gonna get a lot of people pulling at you, but you don't have to listen.
But there's been a lot of good people come out of the woodwork, like big names. You know, like
that's got to be cool.
People that have given me like very good. I don't want to say his name on here and disrupt his privacy, but there's one guy in particular that everybody's seen me meet him at one point, if that gives you a hint at all. But he's just a really good dude.
I didn't see you meet anybody.
Yeah, at one of the shows, you know.
A show?
Yeah.
At one of the shows?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? At one of your shows?
Yeah.
You're talking about Jamie Johnson?
No, yeah, I can't say any names, but
okay.
He's everything you think he is, but he's just been a big help.
That's awesome.
Like almost kind of I don't know if you'd want to say a father figure in the industry, but like there's been some very good-hearted people, like
mentor.
Despite all the craziness and all the people that have come out, like just clawing at me, like that movie we were talking about at the beginning. You know, like there's been a lot of that. There's also been a lot of just really down-to-earth people that have that just have the interest of me trying to preserve whatever it is I've created here and turn it into something to help me keep me on the train tracks. You know, it's just it has been a wild couple of weeks, but like I said, it's been a lot of fun.
You're handling it really well. You are. Yeah. And you're handling the controversy and the criticism and the hit pieces. You're handling it all.
I love it. Like,
just leave it alone. Let them talk. They don't even realize they're working for you. They're just making you more popular.
Well, the thing is like, I see a lot of the negative stuff online, but man, if you read through my emails and my social media messages and the people I've talked to on the street, like there's no question that the majority of people perceive it in the way that I hope that it would be perceived.
Yeah, so no question. No question. You don't have to think about that. No matter what you do, you can't make everybody happy. No matter what you do, no matter who it is, there's always going to be people that don't like it. It's in everything, in music and comedy and literature and films. There's always going to be people that don't like things you like. There's always going to be people, and that's okay. That's okay. You just don't have to read it. Like the thing is about your things that people are gonna write about you now. Like you don't want to like inject that negativity into your mind. So just don't read it. You don't have to read it. Like it's so they don't like you said this, so they think you said of that. You should have done this instead of that. No, shut up.
Yeah, it's funny though. Like
But they're allowed to do that too. That's their job.
That's their job, yeah. And that's what I've said even with people at certain organizations that I strongly disagree with that have reached out trying to do interviews or even some of the people that have come out with the hit pieces and all. I'm like, look, I respect what you're trying to do. Same way with the people in the music industry that have approached me. It's like, I don't necessarily want to work with your organization, but I respect you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just trying to earn an income just like anybody else, you know.
And they're stuck in a system.
Everybody's got a boss, you know.
Yeah. If you're doing a show on CNN, you're in a system. That's what you're doing. You know, you work for a system. There's no way around that. You are a part of a gigantic corporation that has a very specific kind of news that it does, and you're told how you're supposed to do this, and you're hired accordingly, and you know what your job is, and it's not you representing you. And I think what your music, one of the reasons why it represented or why it resonated rather with people is because it represents them. It represents humans, like a real human being. This isn't just some bullshit hit written by AI.
Right.
It's a real human.
Well, I don't know. I read on the internet that it was
You probably could, but I don't think you'd put the fudge rounds in there. Yeah. You know, that doesn't seem like AI would be that creative. It made those things rhyme. It's funny that was one that was the most controversial.
I really thought when I because it's funny, like to just, I guess if I just to tell the story about the song and how it was written, it was like I had the first, again, that song to me, we weren't even, I didn't even want to record that song when Draven from Radio WV came down. He had hit me up on a Thursday about coming to do the recording, and I'd watched a lot of Radio WV, like Logan Halstead and a few of the Nolan Taylor, like those guys are just, they're some of my recent favorites, and they were all sort of debuted on his channel, and so I've been watching him for years. And a guy on TikTok got me in contact with him, and so he called me on a Thursday. He wanted to come that Saturday and record, and I only had the first half of Richmond North of Richmond even written. It was on my TikTok. I was sitting in my bathroom, like just half-heartedly singing through the word. I didn't even know if I was going to when stuff comes in my head, a lot of times I would just post part of it online just to get it out there, very casually. And everybody in the comments was like, "Oh, you got to finish this one, whatever." And then Draven was insistent that we needed to do that song because I didn't. My top song in my head was "Ain't Got a Dollar," "Ain't Got a Dollar," and "I Want to Go Home" are like two of my favorites. So I just threw the rest of the song together. I finished it the day we recorded it at around 6:30 on a Saturday, and I had the song finished at like 3:00 on a Saturday. So it was very thrown together. Had no idea that was going to be the one.
Wow.
And Alex, I was a little reluctant to even record it because I was like, I'm not really an anthem song kind of guy. A lot of my other songs are different than that. So I mean, I'm glad he had the insight to tell me to do it. But yeah, it's just kind of funny the way it was thrown together. But really, I thought when we uploaded the song, I thought the controversy in it was going to be more around the first line and the second verse than anything. About miners on an island somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was
well,
gonna
that
be,
one people got upset about too. What's
I thought
interesting
that was
is
the one.
people on the left got upset about that one. Like, why is he talking about miners or not? Why wouldn't you be talking about it? That's a real thing. That's a real thing. That's horrible. Like, why would that be a thing that's controversial to sing about? And why would it be like something that left wing people would be upset about? Like, what?
Yeah,
what happened?
I hope that people will. I hope, and I've seen it happen. Like, a lot of people like "I Want to Go Home." I've seen that one's got like some million views on it and whatever, and that's awesome. But yeah, Richmond North of Richmond isn't really even my favorite pick. Like and I'll get a better version uploaded of it at some point. Right now it's just off my phone, but like I'd say my favorite song that talks about like class and politics in the world and like the way I perceive it is probably "Doggone It." Like "Doggone It's" probably my favorite out of any of them. So I'm excited to like get those songs released in a more professional format the way Richmond North of Richmond is. And I've got notebooks just full of stuff written down. So I've got a lot of ideas of new songs that I want to work on. So I'm really excited to get. And I hope that like it's good that we did this interview and that we got to get on here and talk. But I don't want to talk a whole lot anymore. I don't think like.
You don't have to.
I'm not a talker. I'm a writer. And so I hope moving forward that I'll just be able to communicate with people just through music and not worry so much about doing interviews and stuff like that.
Well, I think you made an excellent account of yourself, and people are going to understand who you really are. And, and it's a cool story. It's fun. I think more people are going to be behind you now than even before. They'll get a sense of this is a magical thing for you, and it's beautiful. And if it can happen to you, if you can pursue a dream and do this, other people can do things that are very similar.
Exactly. I mean, if there is a message to get out of all of this, it's just that you don't need anybody to do what it is you want to do. Like, I'm just a guy that wrote some songs. I recorded them on my phone. I uploaded them through DistroKid, and like here I am. And it doesn't matter what your pursuit is. Like, you don't need some big industry, fancy schmancy whatever to back you up to do it. You just got to go do it. And I think there's so many people that are like. And I know people like that are very good at things, but they say, "Oh, I'm not good at." And like the fear holds a lot of people back from being successful. You're afraid of your fear of failure will keep you from being successful all day long. So I hope that if anything resonates out of this, it's that people just do what you want to do and don't worry about if people are going to like it or not. They probably are.
And if they don't, make
who
something
cares?
Better. Go back and try again.
Who cares if they don't? Yeah.
Well, hey, brother, thank you very much for coming in here. Congratulations on everything. Enjoy the ride. You're going to be fine.
Yeah. No, it's fun.
We'll do it again in a couple of years.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right.
All right, cool.
Sounds
Thank
good,
you.
brother. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.